Chapter 395. Rumble. When the last of the savage beasts were killed by the sword formation, the blood altar devoured their flesh and blood. Then, a loud boom rang out from the altar, and blood-colored light shot up into the sky. 30,000 meters. The altar soared into the clouds. It descended from the sky and landed on an empty plot of land. Innumerable sacrificial symbols swirled around the altar like a 30,000-meter-long blood dragon. Spirits, spirits, return spirits. The soul-summoning sound from the altar carried an indescribable charm as it spread through the heavens and the earth. Those who heard it felt as if their souls were about to leave their bodies and fly away. They could not help but be secretly shocked. Haha, it's done. The blood altar is 30,000 meters tall. Emperor Crazy, hurry up and get on the altar. Play the soul-summoning song and summon the heroic spirits back. The blood altar was forged from the flesh and blood of countless savage beasts. When you summon the souls, you'll draw upon the power hidden within the altar, although most of it will be used to summon the heroic spirits. However, if a small portion of it spilled out, it would bring great benefits. It could cleanse one's demonic body, cleanse one's marrow and tendons, completely transform one's body and bones, and greatly increase one's cultivation. It's a rare benefit. You have to grab it. When Underworld saw that the altar was complete, he began to laugh madly in Di Shitian's mind. The blood altar was a divine tomb used by ancient experts to be buried in. It was supposed to be indestructible, but the altar in front of him was incomplete. It could only be considered a one-time summon. However, the power contained within the altar was earth-shattering when added together. The power contained within the flesh and blood of the savage beasts was comparable to that of the demon kings who had condensed their inner cores. Countless savage beasts had been killed to build the altar. If all the power within was unleashed, not to mention the immortal realm, even the immortals from the heaven realm would not be able to compare to it. Even if only a small portion of the boundless essence energy within the altar was absorbed by the person on the altar, it would still be an inconceivable fortuitous encounter. It was an opportunity that could allow one to ascend to the heavens. The blood altar has such a benefit. Di Shitian's eyes flickered. He glanced at Bai Hu's position and saw that she was curiously observing the blood altar. He thought to himself, Tian Xiong was severely injured in the past and has yet to recover. Her injuries must be extraordinary. I wonder if the power of the blood altar will be able to completely eliminate her hidden injuries and restore her cultivation. She had once again become the heavenly fragrant fox monarch that dominated the world. Recalling the scene of the white fox being chased by a mere nascent soul stage cultivator when they first met, how could Sakura not know? Seeing that she didn't say anything on the surface, he didn't know how much pain she had in her heart. If the blood altar could heal her this time, it would be a wonderful thing. When he heard about the benefits of the blood altar, the first thing he thought of was Bai Hu and not how far he could rise. There were many things that he had seen with his own eyes, but he rarely mentioned them. Whether it was good or bad for him, there was an account book in his heart that he remembered clearly. How could he not understand Bai Hu's intentions? Of course there are benefits. However, there is also a trick to maximize the benefits. I will give you a connecting talisman. When the time comes, you just need to stick this talisman on your body and absorb the essence energy. It will be much faster and more powerful than absorbing it unconsciously. It will be several times, or even dozens of times faster than ordinary methods. Lunatic DI, you have to improve your cultivation as soon as possible. Otherwise, with your current ability, you won't be able to help me find the Book of Underworld. Quick, throw in some jade stones. I will help you refine it now. After Underworld finished speaking, it sent a message to Di Shitian's mind. After checking it, he found that it was indeed the refining method of the connecting talisman that it had mentioned. The method was not complicated. With his current cultivation, he could easily do it. However, it was also something that could only be used once. However, if he wanted to refine it himself, he would need to study it carefully for a while. Okay. Without saying much, he took out a pile of jade stones from the animal bag and threw them into the 19 layers of hell. The quantity was not just enough to refine one jade stone, but 3 or 4. Then, he said, Underworld, 1 jade stone is too little for such a good thing. Help me refine 4 or 5 of them. I have great use for them. Underworld did not say much. Its power was too mysterious. As an artifact soul, it knew a lot of things. It was easy for it to refine a few jade talismans. Holding the jade stones, it released a ball of blood flame and smelted them together. No one knew how it fiddled with them for a while. For jade talismans were thrown out of hell. Only half a cup of tea's time had passed. Holding the jade talismans, he looked at the towering altar with a flash of light in his eyes. Tian Xiong, now that the altar is completed, let's climb up the altar together and use the power of our bloodlines to summon the demon transformation pool. I don't know about the ancestral worship method either. Everything will be decided by you, Shitian. The white fox smiled faintly at him when she heard this. The meaning of his words was that he had completely let him do as he pleased. Okay, let's climb up the altar together. Xiao Yu, brother Leng, come here. As he said that, he suddenly called Xiao Yu and Leng Wuching over. Although the two of them were a little confused, they did not hesitate and walked over. Di Shitian waited for them to come over and quietly put a jade talisman in each of their hands. Bai Hu also got one. At the same time, a voice was transmitted into their minds. Take the jade talismans with you. They will be of great use later. A strange light flashed in the eyes of Bai Hu and the others when they heard that, and they inadvertently put away the jade talismans. They followed Di Shitian to the altar. The altar was tens of thousands of feet high. It took them some time to reach the top of the altar. When they reached the top of the altar, they saw a blood pool in the middle of the altar. The blood pool was not big, only about a meter in size. But inside, blood was gushing out. There was a strange fragrance in the blood. Everyone, follow my movements and drip your blood into the pool. Di Shitian's expression was serious. He pulled out the tiger's soul and slit his wrist. Instantly, a stream of blood gushed into the blood pool like a fountain. The blood in the blood pool immediately boiled and began to roll violently. Wisps of blood chi rose and drifted out, mysteriously disappearing into the void. Souls, return. The sound of summoning souls echoed in the blood altar. Amidst the sound of summoning souls, the blood altar began to emit bursts of blood-red light. Countless sacrificial runes spiraled up and revolved around the altar. Waves of mysterious energy were emitted continuously, spreading in all directions along with the sound of summoning souls. It continued to radiate outwards, spreading wider and wider. The area it covered continued to expand. Quick, inject your blood into the blood pool. Di Shitian injected a stream of blood into the pool and stopped. The wound on his arm healed automatically. When the white fox saw this, it did not say anything. It went forward and slit its wrist, dripping a drop of blood into the pool. Immediately, the blood in the pool began to boil, and the smell of blood became thicker and thicker. The sound of summoning souls became more rapid and frequent. At the same time, mysterious sacrificial runes started to come out from the altar. The sacrificial runes were like pearls that were spoken word by word. There was a mysterious aura in them. The sound of summoning souls and sacrificial runes intertwined. Waves of mysterious energy spread in all directions. As time passed, the sound of summoning souls and sacrificial runes became louder and louder. It was as if they were following the void and covering the entire heaven and earth. That was the truth. With the help of the mysterious energy of the altar, the sound of summoning souls spread at an incredible speed. With the altar as the center, it covered the entire area. Senior brother Tai Xian, listen, this is the sound of summoning souls. In front of the bottomless abyss, Meng Yaro's expression changed slightly. She looked into the distance. In the void, she could vaguely see a huge altar that pierced through the clouds. A strange blood-colored divine light burst out from it. Thousands of sacrificial runes danced in the air. In the surroundings, there were gods and demons flying, heavenly maidens flying, and ghostly gods crying. All kinds of strange fragrances were competing to be present. Someone is summoning souls. No, I feel a wave of demonic aura. This is the demonic race summoning souls and summoning ancestors. They want to use this method to summon the demon transformation pool. Tai Xian frowned slightly. He looked at the shocking scene in the sky. Wave after wave of summoning souls came one after another. It covered the entire heaven and earth. It echoed in every inch of space on the first floor of heaven-reaching tower. Rumble. As soon as he said that, waves of terrifying aura erupted from the abyss. The demonic aura soared into the sky like smoke signals. It directly broke through the restrictions of the abyss. The demonic aura was so strong that it was immeasurable. Around the abyss, the ground and mountains shook violently. It was as if the abyss was about to collapse on the spot. The rumbling continued. However, in the abyss, countless divine lights suddenly shone and intertwined, sealing the abyss below. Roar. The huge demonic aura that soared into the clouds entrenched itself in the void. After tumbling violently for a while, it mysteriously turned into a 10,000-foot-long white tiger with a pair of wings on its back. It stepped on the void and let out an earth-shattering roar. Waves of sound waves shattered the clouds in the surroundings. The surrounding void collapsed on the spot. It was constantly annihilated and collapsing. However, with a roar, the white tiger's figure collapsed and turned back into demonic aura. After tumbling violently, it condensed again. This time, a snow-white Baihu appeared. Behind Baihu, 8 snow-white tails danced elegantly. However, when they danced, it caused the void that had just healed to collapse again. However, in the blink of an eye, Baihu's figure also collapsed. In mid-air, a black tortoise with a tortoise and a snake appeared. The figures of various powerful figures of the demon clan reincarnated in mid-air one after another. The terrifying power almost caused the abyss to collapse. Countless divine lights rushed out of the abyss, trying to restrain the demonic aura. During the confrontation, a terrifying aura erupted. The soaring demonic chi pillar and the towering 10,000 feet tall blood altar were practically facing each other from afar. Both were extremely obvious. Found it. It's the remnant soul of the ancestor in the demon transformation pool. The demon transformation pool is indeed here. However, from the looks of it, it should be sealed. Di Shitian was overjoyed. Let me try to summon the demon transformation pool. Qinlai, to be continued. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chidian.com to read more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 396. Ding Dong, Ding Dong. The Sakura saw that in the distance, a huge amount of demon aura had turned into billowing smoke and condensed into various Dharma forms. It had a terrifying power that could destroy heaven and earth. Sakura was immediately delighted. He knew that there was nothing else that could erupt such an incredible power other than the demon transformation pool. That place had to be where the demon transformation pool was sealed. Without hesitation, he summoned the 7 sins demonic zither that he'd been nurturing in his demon residence. He sat cross-legged on the altar, placed the zither in front of his knees, and closed his eyes to calm his mind. Then, he waved his hands, and a faint melody began to play. This melody wasn't the melody of slaughter, nor was it the melody of love. It had an ancient air to it, and a strange, sinister air to it. A gust of cold wind rose from the ground. Souls, souls, return. Heroic spirits are immortal for 100 lifetimes, eternal. Ancestral heroic spirits, return. Di Shitian carefully recalled the soul-summoning song that Underworld had transmitted into his mind. Then, he began to play it. The zither had an ancient air to it, and strands of mysterious power drifted out along with the melody. Wherever it passed, an invisible gust of cold wind would sweep past, causing one's heart to involuntarily shiver. It was as if one had suddenly gone from a scorching hot place to a frigid cave of ice. When the soul-summoning song began to play, the blood altar glowed with crimson light, and countless sacrificial runes floated up and spun around the altar. It was impossible to understand the meaning of the ancient runes. All sorts of strange phenomena appeared around the altar, and faint sounds of chanting and praying could be heard. It was as if they had traveled through time. They seemed to have come from the primordial era. The sound grew louder and louder. It gradually became clearer, but no one could understand what it meant. No one could understand it. They only knew that it seemed to be a devout prayer and summoning. It was extremely sinister. Chanting, praying, worshipping, slaughtering. It was as if the ancient demonic sound had come from the primordial era and reappeared in the world. Gods and devils accompanied him as immortals and Buddhas danced in the sky. In the heavens and earth, strange phenomena appeared. Within the blood altar, waves of mysterious power continuously spread out in all directions. At the same time, on the blood altar, there were bursts of incomparably dense blood light. Instantly, it enveloped Sakra and the others on the blood altar. Within this bloodlight, there were traces of extremely pure essence chi that drilled into the body through the pores of the body. As the essence drilled into his body, his flesh and blood began to tremble in excitement as he absorbed the essence. Every time the essence drained into his body, his strength would increase by a notch. Essence chi circulated along the demonic meridians, transforming into demonic chi that strengthened his cultivation base. What a pure essence. Once it enters my body, it turns into surging demonic chi. The blood altar actually has such a benefit. So fast. I can sense that I'm getting stronger with every passing moment. It's 100 times, maybe even 1,000 times faster than normal. Opportunity. This was a huge opportunity. If this continues, I'll break through soon. The sudden appearance of this situation caused the various demonic beasts on the altar to be both shocked and delighted. There was no need for them to guide the essence chi in the surroundings into their bodies. Furthermore, the speed at which it was happening was many times faster than when they were cultivating normally. The strangest thing was that the essence chi couldn't be absorbed by the demonic chi on its own. However, there were differences in the speed and quantity of the essence chi. For example, Ying Ci, Gui Ling, and Shui Wujiu were absorbing the essence chi at about the same speed. However, between Di Shitian, Bai Hu, Xiaoyu, and Leng Wuqing, the essence chi was pouring in like a tidal wave. The speed was incomparable. The soul-summoning song was flicked out from Di Shitian's hand. Combined with the power of the blood altar, it actually turned into mysterious and unfathomable strange seal scripts. It drifted out and frantically swept towards the place where the demonic aura was rising. They crossed the boundary between heaven and earth and appeared in the sky above the bottomless abyss. They circled for a while and were about to rush into the abyss. I didn't expect that after so many years, the demonic beasts still know the secret method of summoning souls and worshipping ancestors. I've seen it in my sect before. These seal characters are the soul-summoning spell formed by the soul-summoning song. They have a mysterious power. Firstly, they are used to summon the souls of our ancestors. Secondly, they are used to destroy seals. If they attack the seals, they will resonate with the inside and outside of the demonic transformation pool. The seal will be broken. Meng Yarrow frowned slightly and said softly, although my sect said that if the demonic transformation pool breaks out of the seal, we don't need to pay any more attention to it, that's the will of the heavens. According to the ancient agreement, we can't interfere too much in the demonic transformation pool. However, since we're here, I think it's inappropriate to just stand by and watch. The meaning behind his words was no doubt that he was going to make a move to stop them. If things really went south, it was fine to give up at that time. Bang! Tens of thousands of beams of divine light shot out from the abyss, and the ground shook violently. The divine light soared into the sky and intertwined, forming a mysterious pattern. It was a huge 8 trigrams diagram. In the center of the 8 trigrams, there was a yin and yang symbol connected head to tail. Around the abyss, 8 divine pillars rose into the sky, covered with countless seal characters. It was the 8 trigrams demon sealing pillar. This was the most powerful seal in the abyss, the Taiji Yin-Yang 8 trigrams demon sealing formation. Below the formation, in the abyss, an ancient pool like a lake could be seen rushing out of the abyss. In the pool, waves of demonic chi surged violently, transforming into various dharma manifestations of the demonic beasts. For a moment, it was a Kuan Peng that soared into the sky. For a moment, it was a domineering great sage ox, a blazing vermilion bird, and so on. They constantly bombarded the seal in the sky. In the sky, the soul-summoning spell hovered, whistling as it was about to descend. That's good. I want to see what kind of mysterious power this legendary soul-summoning song has. The Taishu treasure mirror. When Tai Xian heard this, he didn't say anything, but his hands flashed. A book appeared in his left hand, and a yellow iron pen appeared in his right hand. The words Taishu treasure mirror were written on the book. It was very simple, and the divine light on it was restrained. It was as if it was a very ordinary book. Opening the book, Tai Xian saw that there were pages of paper that were neither gold nor jade. The first page was filled with words. These words were faintly discernible, and they carried a kind of mystery. The treasure mirror automatically flipped to the second page. The paper was blank and snow-white. It was so perfect that one couldn't bear to write on it and ruin it. The Taishu treasure mirror, the mandate of heaven, order, the void collapses, devour the soul-summoning spell, prohibit the soul-summoning sound. Tai Xian wrote on the treasure mirror with his iron pen. Every time he wrote a sentence, a mysterious power would be injected into the pen, and it would follow the pen to form words on the treasure mirror. Rumble. Without any warning, in the sky above the abyss, the void where the soul-summoning spell was located suddenly collapsed mysteriously. The entire void turned into nothingness, and a destructive force burst out. It collapsed inward, forming a hollow. It produced a terrifying devouring force that was about to devour the soul-summoning spell. However, the soul-summoning spell burst out with a mysterious power in an instant. Every spell seemed to have a life of its own. It rushed out and broke free from the devouring force that bound them on the spot. It emitted a faint light, rushed out of the collapsed void, and fell toward the Tai Chi Yin-Yang 8 trigrams demon ceiling formation below. Puff. At the same time, Tai Xian's body suddenly trembled violently, and his face turned red. Then, he opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. His face suddenly turned pale. It was like a piece of white paper. Even his footsteps were a little unstable, as if he had suffered an incalculable injury in an instant. Meng Yarrow released the green lotus below her. The green lotus floated above the seal, blocking in front of the spell, emitting a boundless green light. However, under the spell, the light dimmed and was sent flying back. Only Demoness Ding Dang saw this situation. Her eyes turned, and she stood on the spot without moving. She knew that she was on par with Meng Yarrow. Even they were heavily injured. If she went up, the result would probably be the same. She didn't want to suffer such a loss. Boom. The soul-summoning incantations joined together and crashed into the seal. Immediately, a terrifying explosion occurred. A terrifying power spread out in all directions. The soul-summoning incantations continued to crash into the seal. Each of the soul-summoning incantations contained a mysterious and unpredictable power. That was the power of the blood altar. The blood altar was mysterious and unfathomable. It was a divine tomb from ancient times. It had an incredible power, and when combined with the soul-summoning song, it burst out with a terrifying power. It collided with the seal. One could see that the divine light on the Taiji 8 trigrams floating in the air was dimming as it collided with the spells. Roar. Below, the demon transformation pool shook violently as surging demonic chi roared out without restraint. A 30,000 m tall primordial devil ape roared as it stood on the ancient pool. It let out a series of furious roars, and its 2 arms contained terrifying might that could obliterate the world as it punched towards the 8 divine pillars. Every punch caused the entire abyss to shake violently. Cracks spread in all directions, and the divine pillars shook. Terrifying cracks also appeared on them. The seal itself had been weakening under the erosion of time. In fact, it was on the verge of collapse. Now, under the influence of the soul-summoning song, the demon transformation pool exploded with astonishing power. In ancient times, the ancestors of the demon clan who had sacrificed themselves and entered the pool all condensed their Dharma idol under the power of the ancient pool. They attacked the seal with unprecedented power. Outside, the soul-summoning spell contained the power of the blood altar. The power of the blood altar was not inferior to the demon transformation pool at all. It was a pincer attack from a mile away. Crack. Strange sounds came from the 8 divine pillars, and countless cracks appeared. These cracks quickly spread and covered the entire divine pillar. Then, under the ancient ape demon's attack, the divine pillar collapsed with a bang. It turned into dust. The ancient pool roared and crashed into the Taiji 8 trigrams diagram, rumble. In the air, there was a sudden silence, but then there was a terrifying roar. The seal was torn apart and collapsed on the spot. The demon transformation pool rushed out of the seal. It shook violently, and the surrounding space distorted. Countless soul-summoning spell entered the pool. The demonic aura in the pool condensed into a white tiger dharma idol. It roared and carried the ancient pool to the blood altar. However, at this moment, a strange vortex appeared in the void. To be continued. If you want to know what happens next, please go to www.chidian.com to read more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 397. The color of the vortex was purple gold. The vortex spun, but what it spun wasn't the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, but the void. The void spun with the vortex, and as it spun, it inevitably caused a terrifying distortion to appear in the void. A boundless might that was as vast as the might of the heavens howled down from the sky. Under this might, heaven and earth were about to collapse. All living beings couldn't help but feel a sense of submission from their souls. In the sky, tens of thousands of lightning bolts flickered like silver snakes, rumbling unceasingly. On the ground, gales rose, sand and stones flew. The power was so great that even ancient trees that had grown for countless years were uprooted from the ground. It was extremely terrifying. Under this might, they couldn't even muster the slightest bit of resistance. Meng Yarou, Tai Xian, and Ding Dang were the first to bear the brunt. Their bodies trembled violently, and they couldn't help but kneel on the ground under the pressure that was as heavy as countless mountains. The demon transformation pool in the air was also violently trembling under this pressure. The pool water in the ancient pool rolled crazily, and endless demonic energy spewed out, preventing it from falling. It also burst out a tyrannical aura to resist the pressure that filled the sky. In the vortex, a face formed without any warning, and appeared in the air. This face was filled with endless majesty, but it was wearing a half-purple gold mask that covered half of its face. Its two eyes were as if the heavens were looking down on the mortals. When it saw the demon transformation pool, a cold look flashed across its eyes. Demon transformation pool, you want to come out and bring another opportunity for the demon race to rise again, but this lord won't allow it. The demon race has already declined, so why should it rise again? The human race will be the eternal protagonists. A cold sentence came out from the mouth of the huge masked face. This sentence was vast and boundless, as if heaven and earth were roaring. It was like the might of the heavens, and it spread throughout the world of Tongtian Tower. His words contained endless majesty, as if his words were the will of the heavens. It was as if he already knew that the demon transformation pool would escape and had been waiting here. Boom! The demon transformation pool itself was formed by the sacrifice of countless ancestors of the demon race, so it naturally had an immeasurable amount of spirituality. As if it sensed the arrival of a great disaster, it suddenly burst out a huge amount of demonic energy, shattering the surrounding space formation, and rushed toward the blood altar at an incredible speed. Not good. The immortals and Buddhas of the human race really won't allow us to find the demon transformation pool. They actually want to seal it again. Blood altar. Open. Sakra had been presiding over the overall situation on the blood altar, so he was well aware of the process of the demon transformation pool breaking the seal. Originally, when he saw that the seal of the demon transformation pool had been broken, he was indescribably happy. However, before he could rejoice, an unforeseen event suddenly occurred. He immediately realized that things had changed. This was simply a backup plan left behind by some old fellows of the human race, who did not want to give the demon race any chance to rise, in order to prevent the demon race from escaping the demon transformation pool. Humph. God Tong, Buddha's Buddha SS, let's see who can hurt me with the protection of the blood altar. Di Shitian roared crazily in his heart. The blood altar still existed. With the altar's mysterious power protecting him, he could block even the attacks of a peerless expert once or twice. Without any worries, The courage in his heart was like the vast Milky Way, rushing straight to the stars. Boundless. His eyes were red, and purple light flickered between his brows. He suddenly stood up and stomped heavily on the altar. He roared and formed a mysterious seal with his hands. Then, he threw it toward the altar. Rumble. The blood altar let out a series of rumbles. A blood-red light that connected heaven and earth rushed out from the altar, rushing toward the demon transformation pool. It crossed the boundary of space and appeared in front of the ancient pool in an instant. It wrapped the ancient pool in the blood-red light and quickly retreated back to the blood altar. As long as he returned to the altar, Di Shitian was confident that no matter how strong the mysterious masked man was, he would not be able to do anything to the blood altar. The blood altar. The monster race actually knows this ancient method. But so what if it's the blood altar? If I want to seal the demon transformation pool, who can stop me? Seal. The mysterious masked man snorted coldly. Vast heavenly might rolled out. Under his anger, countless lightning bolts flashed wildly in the sky, as if he could represent the heavenly might. Quick! 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 Indra screamed crazily in his heart. He controlled the blood altar and desperately pulled the demon transformation pool towards the altar. In fact, going back and forth was just a matter of a blink of an eye. But this short period of time, in his eyes, was as long as a reincarnation cycle. He wished he could immediately bring the ancient pool back to the altar. Crash! Just as the blood-red light reversed and was about to reach the altar, it could be said that it was very close. But this close seemed to be the end of the world. In the sky above the altar, a whirlpool silently formed. Within the whirlpool, a crystalline divine light fell. The divine light wrapped around a stele. This stele was a crystal-clear divine crystal stele. There were countless mysterious seals on the stele. It fell directly from the sky. Just like that, the stele pressed down on the blood-red light, and the demon transformation pool was within the light. When the stele fell, countless crystalline lights shot out in all directions. The seals formed indestructible divine chains, binding the demon transformation pool and pulling it into the stele. With a boom, the stele shook. The divine light of the stele suddenly retracted, turning into a divine crystal stele that fell on the blood altar. It landed in front of Di Shitian, and the demon transformation pool disappeared without a trace. On the divine stele, there were ancient seals imprinted on it. Seal of the gods. The human race will be the eternal protagonists. The mysterious masked face's cold eyes looked at Di Shitian and spat out a sentence that sent chills down one's spine. Then, the face disappeared, the whirlpool in the sky disappeared, the lightning disappeared, and everything returned to normal. It was as if everything had returned to normal in an instant. If they had not seen it with their own eyes, no one would have believed what had just happened. Roar. Sakra's pair of tiger-like eyes stared unwaveringly at the divine monolith in front of him. A kind of violent fury crazily rushed from his body to his head like a tidal wave. In his eyes, traces of unprecedented fury ignited in his eyes, and two balls of fury were about to spit out. Behind him, his black hair danced wildly without any wind, and his black robe flapped. He opened his mouth, and an earth-shattering tiger roar came out. The domineering tiger roar caused the space in front of him to distort and collapse, and it was destroyed with a loud bang. The intensity of his fury was like a monstrous sea of fury that wanted to destroy everything in the world. I don't care who you are, sooner or later there will be a day. One day, I will let you taste the humiliation you've suffered today. The human race will be the eternal protagonist. The existence of all living things in the world is the reason. The demon race is born and nurtured. As long as the sun and moon do not fall, the world will not be destroyed. Who can destroy the demon race? In the ancient times, if it were not for the demon race, the human race would have been wiped out long ago. Even if you are a peerless talent, a hero of the ages, let's see how the human race will be destroyed when the sky collapses. Hysterical roars soared into the sky. The fury in Di Shitian's eyes was as bright as the sun and moon. Even the 3 rivers and the 4 seas would not be able to extinguish it. An unconcealable hatred and humiliation was deeply rooted in his heart. The demon transformation pool was the hope of the demon race's rise. Countless hopes of the demon race were placed on it. It was not easy to build the blood altar, it was not easy to break the seal. Hope was right in front of them, and their rise was just around the corner. However, they did not expect the human cultivators to be so ruthless and cruel. Not only did they seal the demon transformation pool for countless years, they even wanted to destroy any hope of the demon race's rise until now. The seal was about to be broken and the demon transformation pool was about to appear. He did not intend to let the demon transformation pool return to the demon race at all. After breaking the seal, he was even more merciless. He left behind a backup plan and sealed it again on the spot. He also left a reason: the human race will be the eternal protagonists. It was a shame to watch the demon transformation pool being sealed in front of Di Shitian. This was a naked slap in the face. The disdain and contempt in his last glance touched Di Shitian's reverse scale on the spot. Damn it, how dare you be so arrogant in front of your ancestor? I'm so angry, so angry. Madman Di, I can't take it anymore. My heart, liver, spleen, lungs, and kidneys are all about to explode from anger. Curse fiercely for me. Back then, the human race was just a group of ants. If the demon race did not treat them as monkeys, they would have been killed. They would have been killed long ago. It's too hateful. How dare he ride on my head and shit? If I don't teach him a lesson, he won't know how many claws I have. Not only Di Shitian could not take it, but even Dark was so angry that he kept blowing his dragon whiskers and roaring crazily in the nether prison. The nether prison was shaking violently. Rumble. In this earth-shaking roar, in the originally calm void, a huge and terrible face appeared with a bang from the distorted void. Two cold eyes fell on Di Shitian. How dare an ant talk so arrogantly? The mysterious man did not leave. He was directly angered by Di Shitian's roar, and monstrous pressure came pressing down like a tide. Two beams of divine light shot out of his eyes and blasted toward the blood altar. The mysterious man only showed a face with a mask, but his power was so terrible that time and space between heaven and earth were about to freeze in an instant. Everything in the world was about to be crushed into powder under his anger. Two beams of divine light crossed the boundary of time and space and fell on the blood altar with a bang. Bang! With a terrible roar, the blood altar burst out with boundless bloody light. Countless sacrificial runes floated up, and all kinds of strange phenomena surrounded it. Although the divine light made the altar tremble violently, it was blocked by the bloody light and could not damage the altar. Madman Di, this is a wisp of the primordial spirit of a peerless expert. His body is not here, and he is like a rootless duckweed. Now that we have the blood altar to protect us, nothing can harm us. Use your divine eyes of heaven's punishment to take him into the nether prison. Today, I will suppress this wisp of primordial spirit in the nether prison even if I have to be seriously injured. Dark roared crazily in his mind. His eyes flickered with madness. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 398. Shitian, don't be impulsive. This person is too terrifying. He has already surpassed the mortal world and is an expert among the immortals. Where there is life, there is hope. When we are strong in the future, we will settle the score with him. If we die here, everything will be in vain. Live, there is hope only if you are alive. This series of changes came too suddenly. From the demon transformation pool breaking out to the appearance of the mysterious person, he directly sealed the demon transformation pool again with a steely. All kinds of situations were simply shocking to the point that their souls left their bodies and their spirits collapsed. Lil Yu and the others were stunned on the spot. Fortunately, Baihu was an ancient demon king after all. Although shocked, she did not lose her mind. Seeing that Di Shitian had begun to go crazy, she hurriedly comforted him. That mysterious person was too strong, too strong. Just the pressure alone was enough to make the world change color and all things submit. Even those cultivators who passed the tribulation could not help but kneel on the ground. With a stele, even the demon transformation pool was suppressed. Such a person was not ordinary. If they really provoked him, disaster would be right in front of them. Ha 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 ha, Di Shetien's eyes were radiating brilliance, and he opened his mouth to let out a burst of wild laughter. A deranged look appeared on his face, and his laughter carried a kind of rebelliousness and a kind of wanton insolence. His black hair was like a wild dragon brandishing its claws. He roared, "Endure? Can't endure? Retreat. There is no way out." Today, they sealed the demon transformation pool. Tomorrow, they dare to kill all the demons. Can't endure, no need to endure. I don't care if you are a peerless expert or not. Today, I will take you into the infernal prison and torture you. Di Shetien made a mysterious seal and threw it into the blood altar. The blood altar rumbled and erupted with endless bloody light. It rose from the ground and rushed into the sky. Around the altar, countless sacrificial runes and ancient soul-summoning sounds fluttered about, as if they came from the ancient times. Suddenly, it became incomparably fierce. Like a ferocious beast that had existed since ancient times, it roared and charged madly towards the mysterious face in the void. Crash, crash, crash. Kaka, lunatic Di, that's how it is. Run his mother down. Screw that bullshit expert. Trying to act all mysterious in front of your ancestor? You're just a wisp of Yuan spirit and an avatar. How dare you be so arrogant? Today, I'll let you know that there's a price for being arrogant in front of your ancestor. Dark roared excitedly, dancing wildly in the nether prison. His two dragon eyes were filled with blood-red light as he shouted loudly. Burning with rage, he had no scruples at all. Di Shetien had a crazed look on his face, but his heart was cold and calm. As the saying went, there were things a man should do and things he shouldn't do. In the face of the big picture, one's strength was insufficient. Forbearance was called enduring humiliation and suffering hardships to accumulate strength. But in front of him, it was a slap in the face. That disdainful look, that act of sealing the demon pool with a single stele, that face that didn't give the demon race any hope of rising up. It completely infuriated him. A man should be unyielding. If he continued to endure, he would be a coward. Even if he had to be cut into pieces, he would drag down the emperor. Under Di Shetien's control, the 10,000 feet blood altar rose from the ground. Without any hesitation, he controlled the altar and ferociously charged forward. Crash, crash, crash. Even if the emperor was in front of him. He wanted to smash the sky and the earth. He wanted to be boundlessly domineering. You're arrogant, but I'm more arrogant. I'll smash you to death. Evil beast, how dare you? The mysterious person looked at the blood altar, which was like the king of ancient beasts. It carried a domineering and indomitable aura that could destroy the heavens and extinguish the earth. His two cold eyes shot out flames of fury, and he let out a furious roar. It was as if an ant was provoking his dignity. The void around him collapsed. This time, it wasn't just his head that appeared. Below his head, his neck, his arms, his torso, and his legs all mysteriously appeared out of thin air. In the blink of an eye, a figure that was over 10,000 feet tall could be seen. His body was covered in a black robe, and his face was glowing with a purplish golden light. As soon as he appeared, the surrounding space seemed to be distorted by the boundless pressure from his body. He stretched out his hand, and a finger that was thicker than an ancient tree poked at the blood altar. The finger silently caused the surrounding void to collapse, turning into waves of destructive power that surged into the finger. I'll smash you to death. Bang! Di Shetien roared, and the madness on his face became more obvious. He controlled the blood altar. He bumped into that finger. With a loud bang, the surrounding void crumbled and collapsed under the terrifying impact. The world was annihilated. Thousands of lightning bolts flashed crazily in the surroundings, illuminating the entire world as if doomsday had arrived. The blood altar was surrounded by gods and demons. Immortals and Buddhas bowed. Thousands of ghosts danced wildly. The sun and the moon accompanied. The sacrificial runes on the altar erupted with an unprecedented terrifying power, bursting out with thousands of feet of bloody light. Crack! The mysterious man's finger contained boundless destructive power. He wanted to kill Di Shitian with one finger. However, when it touched the blood altar, it was blocked by thousands of feet of bloody light. Countless sacrificial runes hovered. The altar shook, and the boundless power crashed into the finger. How could the finger resist the boundless power of the blood altar? It broke with a crack. Under the terrifying destructive power, the entire finger was annihilated inch by inch. In an instant, it was smashed into pieces. Even the mysterious person's body shook under the brutal impact of the blood altar. He took 3 steps back, and with every step he took, the space beneath his feet shattered. How dare you injure this sovereign's body? Purifying heavenly fire. The mysterious man flew into a rage when his finger was destroyed. He flicked his finger at the blood altar, and a ball of white flames appeared in front of him. He flicked it toward the blood altar. The moment it appeared around the blood altar, it turned into a raging inferno that enveloped the altar. The bloody light around the altar was incinerated by the flames. The bloody light gradually dimmed. Lunatic Di, this is purifying heavenly fire. It's extremely domineering, but it can't do anything to the blood altar. Recite after me, ancient heroic spirits, divine tombs of heaven and earth, gods and demons follow, ghosts and gods lead the way. Charge out! Dark roared loudly. Di Shitian recited an incantation without hesitation. The blood altar shot out thousands of feet of bloody light. Within the light, gods and demons emerged, and ghosts and gods followed. Thousands of ghosts and gods clustered around it. Spitting out endless ghostly energy, the blood altar forced the heavenly fire away. With a loud boom, the blood altar scattered the surrounding heavenly fire into tens of thousands of streaks that fell into the sky-split tower. The trees in the sky-split tower burned fiercely as soon as they came into contact with the heavenly fire. When the fire landed on the mountain rocks, the rocks were reduced to dust, and the lakes dried up. Heavenly fire spread out in all directions, as if wanting to burn everything in the sky-split tower to ashes. Countless savage beasts were buried. Roar! At this moment, an extremely powerful aura swept across the land from an unknown location. Everything bowed before it. It was as if the heavens and earth had frozen in place when this aura swept past, but it vanished in an instant. Thunder rumbled in the sky as a torrential downpour poured down. When it landed on the heavenly fire, the fire that ordinary rain couldn't extinguish started to die out bit by bit. There really is a sovereign in the sky-split tower, roared Lunatic Di. Don't worry about it, use the blood altar. As long as the altar isn't destroyed, no one can hurt you. Smash, 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 bang. Di Shitian's eyes were filled with madness. How could he care about anything else? Without any other means, he could only smash. Even if the heavens and earth were in front of him, his blood altar would still smash through the heavens and earth. He was crazy, he was insane. He controlled the blood altar again and again like a barbarian, fiercely crashing into the mysterious person. No matter how many means or divine abilities the mysterious person had, the blood altar protected him, impenetrable. The rude and unreasonable collision caused the mysterious person to roar furiously. Using all kinds of methods, he still couldn't get close to Di Shitian. He was battered and exhausted by the blood altar, and his clothes were tattered. He roared again and again, but it was useless. Purifying heavenly fire? I remember that in the ancient records, there was one ancestor who was most proficient in this kind of divine flame among those who survived the sealing of the demon transformation pool. I remember that the cultivation of that ancestor had already reached a shocking level. It was said that he could have become a peerless expert. Such a boundless divine ability actually couldn't do anything to the blood altar. What exactly is the blood altar? Meng Yarrow cried out in shock. Now, the three of them had long been shocked by the terrifying scene in the void. Every time they saw the blood altar crashing into the mysterious person, their hearts couldn't help but jump. It was really unreasonable. That was an ancient giant. He was actually battered by a Yarrow using the blood altar. Just thinking about it made the corners of their mouths twitch involuntarily. Ah! Evil creature, when the blood altar's power is depleted, this sovereign will extract your divine soul. The mysterious person was enraged by the impact, and his eyes spat flames of fury. If you want to extract my divine soul, this daddy will kill you first. Di Shitian roared angrily. Every time the blood altar crashed into him, the flames on his body would rise endlessly, and a deranged mentality would surge to his heart. So what if he was a peerless expert? He was just a clone. If I say I want to suppress him, then I will suppress him. Heavenly punishment divine eye, absorb. Whoosh. The purple mark between his eyebrows shot out a shocking divine light. In an instant, it opened, and the heavenly punishment divine light shot out from the divine eye. It covered the sky and covered the earth, crossing the boundary of time and space, and fell on the mysterious person's body. Wherever the divine light passed, everything in the world was silent. Time and space were all still. It fell on the mysterious person, and with a whoosh, it was about to suck him into the nether prison. Evil creature, you dare to suck me? Intimidate the world. The mysterious person was covered in the divine light, and suddenly, he laughed wildly. His body shook, and the time and space around him were shattered inch by inch. The purple gold mask on his face burst out a terrifying aura. It was like an emperor descending to the world, and it wanted to force the heavenly punishment divine light back. Roar. Blood altar, give me power. Di Shitian shouted crazily, and his left foot stepped on the altar. The altar shook fiercely, and waves of earth-shattering power emerged from the altar, roaring and rushing into his body like a stormy sea. It poured into the divine eye between his eyebrows. Crazy Di, this daddy will also lend you a hand. Suppress him to death. Ha, suppressing the clone of an ancient giant, feels good. The climax is coming, the passion is endless. Suppress the clone of an ancient giant. Brothers, if you want more passion, vote for the myriad demons. The long-awaited passion is here. Chapter 399. Dark made up his mind and fell into a state of madness and excitement. To be able to suppress the avatar of an ancient giant who was close to being a peerless expert, even if it was only a strand of avatar, was an unprecedented feat throughout the ages, even if it was only a strand of avatar. Such a thing had never happened in the wildlands, in ancient times, in modern times. Just thinking about it made him excited, and his blood boiled. Dark was an ancestor, but someone dared to be so arrogant in front of him. He was already gnashing his teeth with hatred. Seeing Di Shitian use the Heaven's Punishment Divine Eye, he could not help but feel excited. The Heaven's Punishment Divine Eye was a heaven-defying divine power with infinite power, but it also depended on the user's cultivation. Compared to the mysterious man, even if it was just a doppelganger, there was still a world of difference. Under normal circumstances, it would be a fool's dream to be sucked into the underworld prison. It was almost impossible. However, at this moment, Sakra was standing on the blood altar with the sky above his head. His courage was boundless and his domineering aura was awe-inspiring. The power of the blood altar rushed into the divine eye and immediately pushed the power of the Heaven's Punishment Divine Eye to an incredible level. Under such circumstances, Dark did not hold back. He roared and spat out a wave of blood into the divine eye. Suddenly, Di Shitian, the blood altar, and Dark superimposed the power of the three. The Heaven's Punishment divine light shot out from the divine eye seemed to be real. It was silent, and boundless heavenly power descended. Under the divine light, everything was imprisoned. Space, time, and everything was tightly imprisoned. The divine light, which had been pushed back by the mysterious man, burst out with infinite power again. It fell on him. Space was locked down and the mysterious person's struggling body froze in place. It was as if a body-locking curse had been placed on him. Even the flow of time stopped under the divine light. There were no shackles binding his body. The power of the Heaven's Punishment Divine Eye was really overbearing. With the help of the blood altar and Dark's power, it was even more powerful. Even a terrifying existence like the mysterious man was suppressed. The human clan is the eternal protagonist. My monster clan should be destroyed. Bah, I'll kill you first today. Di Shitian laughed coldly and ferociously. Heaven's punishment, divine eye. Whoosh. With a roar, he used the power of the blood altar to drive the divine eye. The purple divine light turned and swept over the mysterious man. Suddenly, a white light appeared from the mysterious man's body and was swept into the divine eye. However, the mysterious man revealed a look of disbelief. What kind of divine ability is this? It actually wiped away my 1,000 years of cultivation. Nether, take him into the nether prison. Can you suppress him? Ha, lunatic emperor, even if I have to suffer heavy injuries, I will suppress him. Suppressing the clone of an ancient hegemon is an unprecedented feat. Even if I have to use all my strength, I will suppress him. Otherwise, I won't be able to vent my anger. Nether clenched her teeth and screamed madly. How could he give up on this opportunity? The madness in his eyes sent chills down one's spine. Suppressing, if you want to do it, then do it for the ages. Absorb. Di Shitian spat out a word that shook the sky. The blood in his body boiled, and waves of earth-shattering power poured into the divine eye from the blood altar beneath him. An extremely powerful devouring power swept out from the divine eye and enveloped the mysterious man. It didn't just devour his body, but also the space and time around him. Everything was devoured. Ant, how dare you kill a god? How dare you defy the heavens? When my true body descends, I can kill you with a finger. Ah! The mysterious man roared loudly, his eyes filled with hatred. Waves of power shot out crazily, shaking the divine eye's power and trying to break free from its restraint. The shaking divine eye's light fluctuated violently. There was boundless anger on the mysterious man's face. It was the kind of anger that came from being blasphemed by an ant. Although the mysterious man was extremely powerful, he was only a clone after all. The blood altar and Nether's power suppressed him and kept pulling him toward the divine eye. With every inch he got closer, his body shrank. Under the terrifying devouring power, he was swallowed into the divine eye on the spot. This is Nether prison. I'll break your Nether prison. The mysterious man was sucked into the divine eye. When he reappeared, he was in Nether prison. Boundless pressure from Nether prison pressed down on him, but without the power of the blood altar, it couldn't suppress him at all. He looked around and immediately roared disdainfully. With a wave of his hand, he was about to break through Nether prison. Rumble. However, a purple altar suddenly appeared above his head. As soon as the altar appeared, the sound of chanting, praying, worshipping, slaughtering, and even the ancient demonic sound kept rolling over. Images of gods and demons appeared. On the altar, thousands of torture instruments flashed one after another, and countless images of gods and demons being tortured appeared one after another. The altar contained boundless power and pressed down on him. An altar pressed him under it. Suppress. Suppress. The purple altar descended from the first layer of Nether prison, suppressing it down layer by layer. Every time it descended, there would be a layer of Nether prison's power suppressing it. It pressed down all the way to the 19th layer of Nether prison. The 19th layer of nothingness had only endless darkness. It was dead silent. You want to suppress me with a mere Nether prison? Open. Today, I'm going all out. Heaven's punishment platform, suppress. Suppress. Dark revealed a maniacal smile. His huge blood dragon body appeared in this strange 19-layered hell. With a roar, the huge dragon body coiled around the purple Heaven's punishment platform. Endless power surged out of his body and poured into the Heaven's punishment platform to suppress the mysterious person. He opened his mouth and spat out mouthfuls of blood essence on the platform. The platform shone brightly, and its power was boundless. With a boom, the mysterious man was suppressed under the platform. After spitting out mouthfuls of blood essence, Nether's expression suddenly became dispirited, as if he had consumed unimaginable power in an instant. However, his eyes were in high spirits. He laughed wildly. Ha, so what if you're an ancient giant? I'll suppress you today. No matter how peerless you are, you're still at my mercy after entering Nether prison. Awesome. This is an ancient feat, lunatic Di. I'll let you see how I squeeze oil out of this arrogant boy later. Ha. He laughed wildly, his eyebrows dancing in exultation. He laughed with extreme satisfaction. A clone. Clones are good. They all have supreme treasures with them. If I'm not wrong, that purple gold mask must be a supreme treasure. Lunatic DI, we're rich. The blood in Sakra's body was also boiling, the blood in his whole body was roaring unceasingly. Both his eyes turned red, and he was also roaring in his heart, a magnificent feat through the ages, to be arrogant in front of this king, the one who did it is you. Today, I'm suppressing a clone with the power of the blood altar. Sooner or later, I'll destroy your true body with my own strength. He was only at the second revolution of the monster core realm, but he was actually suppressing the clone of an ancient giant. This feeling was simply exciting. Every inch of his flesh and blood was trembling crazily. That kind of exhilaration was simply indescribable. Now that Nether is suppressing his clone, will his true body sense it? If he doesn't care about his face and comes here, the power of the blood altar will be exhausted, and will be in great danger. Sakra stood on top of the blood altar and could clearly feel that the power of the blood altar was truly fading away. It wasn't endless. Once the power was exhausted, the blood altar would be useless. Haha, don't worry. The Tower of Babel itself is the most mysterious place in the world. This time, his clone is suppressed. Unless his true body is in the Tower of Babel, he won't know even if he has the Tower of Babel. When he finds out, it'll be a matter for the future. However, you have to hurry up and cultivate it to perfection. Even if his true body comes and searches the world with heaven-defying methods, he won't be able to find us. Nether shouted disdainfully. The excitement in his eyes still did not fade. Unfortunately, the demon transformation pool that was about to be in our hands was sealed again. Damn it. They want to be the eternal protagonist of the human race. They dare to dream of such a thing. Di Shitian's eyes shone brightly. He secretly made up his mind to see who was more suitable for this world when it developed. Crazy Di, it's not necessarily a bad thing that the demon transformation pool is sealed. Ming suddenly said. Oh, what do you mean? Di Shitian raised his eyebrows and his eyes fell on the divine crystal stele in front of him. The two words on the stele were so dazzling. Hehe, think about it. If the demon transformation pool is taken out in its entirety, you won't be the one to control it. The 8 monster kings will protect it like a treasure. It won't help you strengthen your forces at all. The strong ones are the monster race. But if you spend a lot of effort, it will be in vain. It's different now. The demon transformation pool is sealed. With the current means of the monster race, they won't be able to break the god-sealing stele. When the time comes, you can say that you'll be in charge. I think there won't be many obstacles at that time. Nether let out a strange cry with a sinister smile on his face. You mean you have a way to break the god-sealing stele? Di Shitian was so smart that he immediately understood the hidden meaning in Nether's words. His eyes lit up immediately. TSK, didn't the cultivation methods of the human race come from the hands of the demon race? In ancient times, the peerless powerhouse Star Emperor, Xing Mao, had a cultivation method called the Stellar Demon Sealing Tablet. Star Emperor and my master, the Emperor of the Dead, were good friends and would often gather together to exchange cultivation methods and practice their divine abilities. Hehe. I also remembered that the name of the god-sealing stele was changed. But the forbidden technique in it can fool others, but it can't fool me, Nether. Nether's words were full of pride. Rumble. Rumbling sounds came from the Nether prison, and the Heaven's Punishment platform shook violently. It seemed that the suppressed clone was about to rush out. A roar echoed madly in the Nether prison. You can't do anything to me, evil creatures. You think you can suppress me? You're just ants, ants. It roared and wanted to overturn the Heaven's Punishment platform. Recently, I've been filled with inspiration and passion. Brothers, give me your votes. After we get out, we're going to start dealing with the 10,000 Beasts sect. Give me some passion, and I'll give you all wave after wave of climaxes. Chapter 400. How dare you act so arrogantly when you're under the Heaven's Punishment platform? Let's see how your ancestor will deal with you. Dark gnashed his dragon teeth and gave a ferocious grin. The blood-red light shone from his body and merged with the heaven punishment platform. Immediately, the platform glowed with a purple light. On the walls of the square platform, one after another, frightening images of torture appeared vividly, and vividly. Some were crawling naked on a mountain of blades and had their bodies cut until they were dripping with blood. Some were being squeezed with boiling oil in a pot of oil until their skin was split open and their flesh was steamed into human meat buns. Some were being tied to iron pillars, tongues pulled out with pliers, fingers cut off, eyes gouged out, ears pierced, and lower body castrated. They were being torn apart by 5 horses, skinned alive, and pulled out of tendons. All sorts of punishments were ghastly and terrifying. They caused one's heart to tremble and be on the verge of shattering. All sorts of images of torture appeared amidst bursts of purple light. Heaven's punishment pillar. Heaven's punishment chains. Lock. Ming laughed savagely as he roared loudly. Instantly, a violet divine pillar grew out of the heaven's punishment platform and stood tall. Numerous black chains that emanated strands of a strange aura and carried a strange ghastly coldness rang out as they swiftly bound down. Ah! A furious roar that was filled with boundless rage almost overturned the heaven's punishment platform. The mysterious masked man who had shrunk to the height of a normal person was bound by numerous black chains. His limbs, neck, waist, chest, and every other part of his body was tightly bound. There were even chains that pierced through his shoulder blades. The chains retracted and bound him to the heaven's punishment pillar. TSK. A mere clone dares to act arrogantly before your ancestor. This is only a nascent soul clone. Your nascent soul needs a supreme treasure to possess it. Only by relying on the supreme treasure can you unleash your strength. Looking at your supreme treasure, it should be this mask. Let's see how arrogant you can be after I peel off this layer of skin of yours. A cruel expression appeared in Ming's eyes. He stretched out his dragon claw and grabbed the mysterious man's violet mask. With a forceful pull, the mask was instantly torn off. The mysterious man immediately let out a miserable shriek as if someone had dug out his heart. His entire person suddenly became incomparably dispirited. The aura on his body also weakened greatly in an instant. In the blink of an eye, it had been reduced by more than half. What a good mask! It actually has the ability to conceal one's aura, intimidate all living beings, and increase the owner's cultivation realm. What a treasure! TSK, even in the ancient times, I have never seen such a treasure. Lunatic DI, you're going to strike it rich this time. Dark looked at the purple gold mask. His pair of dragon eyes sparkled as he shouted excitedly, beat him with your whips. After that, poke his eyes and pull out his tongue, punish him one by one. Take turns. Treat him well. He excitedly looked at the mask in his hand as he called a few prison guards over. They took out all kinds of torture tools and began to use them on the mysterious man. He didn't care about the identity of the mysterious man's original body at all. Fight. I'm going to beat you, you arrogant junior. After communicating with Dark for a while, Di Shitian looked at the god-sealing monument in front of him. A glint flashed in his eyes. The madness that had originally appeared on his face gradually disappeared after he suppressed the clone in the hell prison. He thought to himself, Dark said that he had the confidence to break the restriction inside this god-sealing monument. If that's the case, I'll have to make a good plan. That's right. If the demon transformation pool was brought out of the Tongtian Tower in one piece, even if he had succeeded in seizing the pool, he would definitely not be able to truly control the demon transformation pool. Now, it's an opportunity. After I get out, I must think of a way to control the god-sealing monument. Shitian, I didn't expect you to have such an incredible method. You can even suppress such a powerful clone of an ancient giant. However, I can't stay in the Tongtian Tower for long. I must leave as soon as possible. Baihu took a deep breath. She looked at Di Shitian with a complicated expression in her eyes. Although she saw the scene just now, she didn't even have the chance to intervene. Looking at the fierce fight and the terrifying scene of destruction, she would never forget it even if she lived for a lifetime. She found it hard to believe that Di Shitian could suppress such a powerful expert. There was no lack of joy and pride in her heart. Yes, it's indeed time to leave. The power of the blood altar is rapidly depleting. It won't be able to hold on for long before it collapses. Tian Xiong, how are your injuries recovering? Sakura looked at the white fox, then swept a glance at Xiao Yu and the rest. He discovered that their faces were rosy and glowing like jewels. Obviously, with the help of the huge amount of essence in the blood altar, they had all obtained indescribable benefits. Di Shitian himself felt that the essence in his body was incomparably huge. His royal true force had actually reached the peak of the second transformation monster core in a short period of time. If it wasn't for the fact that he had to undergo the monster tribulation and couldn't advance further, the blood altar would have pushed his cultivation forward by several times, or even dozens of times. Even so, he could break through at any time and enter the third transformation monster core. The blood altar is really magical. It's incomparably powerful when facing enemies. Even the essence it emits has completely healed my injuries back then. Moreover, there are signs of improvement. Baihu couldn't help but reveal a look of joy in her eyes. The injuries in her body had been troubling her for a long time, and she had never been able to fully recover. It was estimated that without dozens of years or hundreds of years of cultivation, it would be difficult to recover. However, she unexpectedly recovered in one go here. How could she not be happy? Uncle Di, thank you for your help this time. Xiao Yu's cold face also became slightly warmer. The benefits she had obtained were also extremely huge. Her cultivation was also at the edge of the first transformation monster core. The biggest benefit was that the huge amount of essence had been completely stored in her body and turned into her potential. It cleansed her muscles and cleansed her marrow, causing her aptitude to be cleansed in an instant. The benefits were immeasurable. From now on, it would be normal for her cultivation to progress 1,000 miles in a day. Under the closeness, she actually called Di Shitian uncle. Di Shitian was also slightly stunned by this uncle. His gaze fell on Xiao Yu. After a moment of silence, he nodded and said, "The blood altar is about to collapse. The monster transformation pool is also sealed in this god-sealing monument. It's time to think of a way to leave the Tongtian Tower and go outside. Let's see if the Rock Demon King and the others have any way to break the seal and then think of another way." Okay. Naturally, no one had any objections to this suggestion. It was best for them to leave in order to avoid any unforeseen circumstances. At that time, they would lose the blood altar. If they really encountered an existence like the doppelganger just now, they would probably be poked to death with a finger. Let's go. Di Shitian controlled the blood altar and was about to leave. At this moment, the bloody light on the blood altar dimmed. Even the sacrificial runes returned to the altar. All the strange phenomena outside had disappeared. It seemed that it was about to exhaust its power. Where are you going? However, at this moment, an unusually irritable roar filled with the smell of gunpowder came from afar. Even the roar carried a sense of sharpness. A violent sword intent crossed the void and soared into the 9 heavens. A scarlet, terrifying sword light that was thousands of feet long slashed down from the void. That sword momentum seemed to want to split the blood altar and Di Shitian and the others on the altar in half. Despicable and shameless. What kind of evil curse are you casting on my Heavenly Sword Valley disciples? Let's see how I, Kai Lian, will deal with you. Blood altar. This sword came from the west. In the sword light, there was a terrifying violent sword intent. The sword light was scarlet, and the surrounding void was about to be completely burned into ashes by the terrifying heat contained in the sword light. When the sword fell, a terrifying sword mark was split open in the void. Even the void was split by the sword. The strength of the power was far inferior to the mysterious doppelganger from before. It was much stronger than the tribulation transcendence. The pressure was so strong that monstrous flames swept across the sky. Bang! Di Shitian's expression was indifferent. With a thought, he activated the remaining power of the blood altar. In the altar, the bloody light rose again and the sacrificial runes appeared again, completely covering the entire altar. It blocked the shocking sword light. With a loud bang, the bloody light on the blood altar trembled violently. However, the sword light also collapsed under the terrifying power of the blood altar. The sword light collapsed. In the void, there was a person in a red robe with red hair. Even his face was as black as charcoal and suffused with a layer of red light. Outside his body, a substantial red giant sword wrapped around his body. The tip of the sword pointed upwards, and rolling heat waves spread in all directions. The illusory ancient sword seemed to have existed since ancient times. Endless power of heaven and earth crazily poured into the ancient sword at all times, turning into endless sword chi. In front of this giant sword, one would unconsciously feel that they were very small. Even if Mount Tai was in front of them, with a slash of the giant sword, it would be split open. Heavenly Sword Valley? A look of surprise flashed across Baihu's face. She said, "Legend has it that in the human cultivation world, there are 4 great holy lands that are above all the sects. However, their specific location is extremely mysterious, and very few people know. However, Old Peng has been investigating for a long time. For hundreds of years, the information and analysis that he has obtained indicates that the 4 great holy lands might be in Heaven-reaching Tower. Looking at the situation, I'm afraid it's true. The location of the 4 great holy lands had always been an extremely mysterious matter in the world. Now that it was revealed by Baihu, it could be said to be shocking. Heaven-reaching Tower was a dangerous place that everyone respected and stayed away from, but the 4 great holy lands had established their sects in the tower. It was really mysterious. One could be sure that the location of the sects was definitely not in the first layer. Despicable. Ridiculous. Di Shitian was so angry that he laughed. He roared, "What bullshit 4 great holy lands? Do you really think that everything in the world is up to you? Just Ao Chen, you opened your mouth and wanted to take this king's battle sword. I didn't expect that after beating the small one, the old one would come out. Since the small one has already been beaten, the old one can forget about leaving today. Blood altar, rise. No matter how many people there are, I, Di Shitian, will frown today and cut off my head for you to kick like a ball." Strong, he would be strong to the end today. As long as the blood altar was not broken, he would not be afraid even if the world collapse. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please go to www.chidian.com. I support the author. I support the original reading. Chapter 401. Since he was going to be tough, he would be tough to the end. He had even suppressed the mysterious doppelganger, so why should he be afraid of an expert from Skysword Valley? He would use the blood altar to smash him to death. He would crush him to death. All this time, Di Shitian had been deeply suppressing his own nature. When he first arrived, the unfamiliar environment made him unable to adapt. When he stepped onto the path of demon cultivation, all he saw along the way were experts who were much stronger than him, experts who could kill him at any time. The nameless pressure always suppressed him to the point that he had to consider what kind of danger he was going to face, how to plan, how to cultivate, and how to develop his force. All kinds of pressure made him live very carefully most of the time for more than 10 years. He was afraid that one wrong step would lead him to eternal damnation. Today, with the blood altar protecting him, it could be said that the nature that he had suppressed for a long time was completely released. When it was time to be strong, he should be strong. Today, with the blood altar here, he would do whatever he wanted. If he could be strong, he would be strong. Strength came from fighting. When the blood altar collapsed, he would not have the chance to be strong in a short time. How dare you be so arrogant in front of this king? I don't care if you are the emperor, I will smash you to death. Under the contrast of the power of the blood altar, the aura of supremacy on Indra's body was like a tide, without the slightest bit of reservation. It soared straight up into the sky, like a supreme emperor that was above the heavens and earth. Standing on the 10,000-foot-tall blood altar, boundless power swept through heaven and earth. The blood altar gathered its remaining power. Boom! The blood altar shook, and the surrounding void collapsed. It violently crashed toward the giant sword that seemed to have existed since ancient times. This collision was without restraint, and it was carefree. Slash! The red-faced old man's eyes were as wide as copper bells. Seeing the 10,000-foot-tall blood altar crash toward him, his expression turned serious. He roared, and the giant sword around him slashed toward the blood altar, shattering heaven and earth. Bang! Unfortunately, although this old man was powerful to the extreme, if Sakra encountered him in ordinary times, other than running away, there was no other way. But now, relying on the blood altar, Sakra even dared to crash into the heavenly emperor. What was there to be afraid of? The blood altar and the giant sword collided. The surrounding void shook violently and was annihilated inch by inch. The terrifying flames were about to drown the blood altar, but the blood altar fiercely crashed into the flames and dispersed the flames. The sword light on the giant sword became extremely dim. Countless strands of sword chi scattered in all directions, landing on the surrounding mountain peaks. The mountain peaks that were 10,000 feet tall were destroyed by the sword chi. Countless gravel flew in all directions. Fart! The red-faced old man opened his mouth and spat a mouthful of blood. I'll make you have no demon. Bang! I'll make you despicable. Bang! I'll make you shameless. There was madness in Sakra's eyes. Even the mysterious doppelganger couldn't resist the power of the blood altar. A strong warrior of the Sky Sword Valley, even if he had surpassed the tribulation-passing realm and the immortal realm, was only a 4 tribulation-scattered immortal. And I'll make you lose your soul. I'll make you spit out blood. Every time he cursed, the blood altar would crash into the old man once. The old man was knocked back on the spot. The sword light around him had already dissipated. He summoned the sword realm, but the sword realm was also heavily damaged. In an instant, he was knocked back thousands of feet. Along the way, the surrounding void was completely annihilated, and a terrifying destructive force erupted. It rolled in all directions. Crash, crash, crash. Lunatic DI, while the blood altar still has power, crash him to death. Today, I'll kill gods and Buddhas. No taboos. Dark roared as if the world was not in chaos. It was extremely excited. This kind of boundless strength was what it liked the most. Suppress. Di Shitian roared. The blood altar rose into the air and appeared above the red-faced old man. It crashed down, and the space under the blood altar was instantly annihilated. The destructive force wrapped around the old man and bound him tightly under the blood altar. Earth Spirit Pearl, Steel Finger, bang! Di Shitian fiercely pressed the old man under the blood altar, and the ground was turned into diamond by the origin power of the Earth Spirit Pearl. It was incomparably hard. The old man was sandwiched in the middle as the blood altar pressed down. He did not even have time to scream. With a loud bang, the blood altar solidly hit the ground. Crack! At this moment, a terrifying cracking sound suddenly came from the blood altar. On the blood altar, terrifying cracks spread out like a spiderweb, crazily spreading to every corner. In the blink of an eye, there was no place left intact. Not good, lunatic DI, leave quickly. The blood altar's power has been exhausted and is about to collapse. The altar is useless now. Take the God-sealing monument and leave this place quickly. Find a place to hide first. The power of the blood altar will destroy the surroundings, and even the traces of you killing that reckless old man will be covered. Hide for a while, then quickly leave the heaven-reaching tower. Dark saw the blood altar collapse and immediately roared. Di Shitian grabbed the God-sealing monument and shouted at Bai Hu and the others, "Everyone, leave quickly." Taking the lead, his body turned into a stream of light and quickly swept out. Bai Hu and the others also saw the situation they were in, so there was no need to remind them. They all followed closely behind and fled as fast as lightning. When they had only traveled 1,000 feet, they heard a terrifying rumble behind them. A monstrous wave roared and swept in all directions. When they turned their heads to look, they saw that everything within a radius of 1,000 feet had been completely annihilated. A blood-red mushroom cloud soared into the sky and stayed there for a long time without dissipating. One could see that the space within was recovering, being destroyed, recovering, and being destroyed again. It was a terrifying and chaotic cycle. Under such circumstances, even if the old man was not crushed into meat paste by the altar, he would still be crushed into pieces and die without a doubt. They only watched for a moment. Di Shitian and the others immediately fled and left. In the blink of an eye, 7 days had passed. In the south of the heaven-reaching tower, at the bottom of a vast lake, there was an underwater cave. In the cave, a black-robed young man and a white-robed woman were sitting cross-legged in the cave and cultivating with their eyes closed. In the cave, there was not a single drop of water. Around them, the rich power of heaven and earth was absorbed into their bodies. Huff! Sakura opened his eyes and gently spat out a mouthful of turbid air from his chest. He muttered to himself, "What an enormous amount of essence chi. Although more than half of it has merged with my flesh and blood, just the remaining essence chi is enough for me to continuously refine it for 7 days. The blood altar is truly miraculous. Not only has it cleansed my marrow and tendons, making my monster body even stronger, even the essence chi and power in my body have received shocking benefits. The blood altar is really magical. When I leave the heaven-reaching tower, I can find some time to start the 3-9 demonic tribulations. I will officially advance to the 3rd transformation of demon core." He sighed inwardly. The blood altar was indeed miraculous and mysterious. There were no hidden dangers in increasing one's strength. This was also the rarest point. Hee, lunatic Di. This time, we've really struck it rich. What's the little bit of increase in your cultivation? Let me show you this treasure. This is a real treasure. Dark's voice resounded in his mind. With a shout, the purple mark between his brows flashed with purple light. A purple-gold mask that could only cover half of his face flew out from the purple light. Sakura reached out his hand and grabbed the mask. However, the mask wasn't obedient in his hand. It suddenly erupted with a tyrannical force that was suffused with purple-gold light. It shook violently and actually wanted to fly away by itself. Me. Sakura's expression congealed. The Emperor's true force in his body flowed along his fingers like a tide and rushed into the mask, firmly suppressing the abnormal movement of the mask. He held it tightly and didn't let go. As long as he let go, he was sure that it would immediately escape. The power of the mask was extremely great. Under the constant struggle, even if he used all his strength and the royal true force, which was the most domineering true force in his true force, he could not completely subdue it. Every moment consumed a huge amount of true force. This situation lasted for 15 minutes. When he could no longer hold on, the purple-gold divine light on the mask retracted without any warning. It hid in the mask and no longer resisted. What kind of treasure is this purple-gold mask? It's so domineering that it almost escaped. I can feel that there's an extremely strong power in the mask. Di Shitian looked at the mask and asked Dark. There were natural patterns on the purple-gold mask. These patterns seemed to be alive and were constantly fluctuating. Every time they fluctuated, they would form a mysterious talisman. It was unknown what material the mask was made of, but it seemed to have a noble aura. The mask was filled with endless majesty. Just a glance at it could make one feel a sense of oppression. Majesty without anger. Lunatic Di, don't be ignorant. This mask is a real treasure. I don't know who made it, but I can recognize the materials inside. There are Emperor Blood Crystal, 10,000-year purple gold sand, Sky's Edge Cloud Essence, and Cape Purple Coral. I can't see the rest, but they're definitely not worse than these. It has been nurtured by an expert for countless years. It has even been soaked in the chaotic spring water. It's a rare treasure in the world. This is an acquired spiritual treasure. An acquired spiritual treasure? Di Shitian's eyes lit up. After wearing this mask, it can help you hide your aura. It's a perfect match for your cultivation. Once you've mastered the seamless dress, even an unparalleled expert might not be able to find you if you really want to hide. It also has the ability to deter. After wearing it, you'll naturally be able to intimidate all living beings. The most amazing thing is that it can help you increase your current cultivation realm. Raise a realm. Although this ability won't be of much help to you once your cultivation reaches a higher level, for now, it's a rare treasure. Don't you think it's a treasure? Dark was very excited. He was now thinking of ways to help Di Shitian increase his strength. He didn't want to borrow someone with a low cultivation and be bullied. He had to be strong, so strong that there were no taboos. More than 400 chapters, starting to move towards 500 chapters. Brothers, follow me all the way. Let's go through thick and thin together. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please go to www.chidyen.com to read more chapters. Support the author, support the legal reading. Chapter 402. What a treasure! The more Di Shitian listened, the brighter his eyes became. His hand on the mask couldn't help but gently stroke it a few times, feeling the mysterious patterns on the mask. He was secretly happy. This pillow came to me when I wanted to sleep. Hiding one's aura is undoubtedly a life-saving method. Its deterrent power can set off one's dignity and nourish one's own chi. The last enhancement is to increase one's cultivation level. That's the most incredible and magical ability. If I bring it with me, the second transformation of the monster core can exert the power of the third transformation. With my strength, I can fight against the ancient monster king. That's not all. It can increase the speed of your absorption of the power of heaven and earth by 10 times. It can greatly increase your cultivation speed. It's a rare help for your early cultivation. Lunatic Di, this purple gold mask is a rare treasure in the world. However, I feel that this mask isn't as simple as it looks. There seems to be some kind of seal on it, but I can't feel anything when I check it carefully. Strange. There was a hint of suspicion in Dark's voice. He seemed to have some doubts about this mask and instinctively felt that there seemed to be some secret inside. However, he couldn't find anything after checking it again. He could only treat this doubt as a guess. It's indeed a rare treasure. In this world, there are all kinds of offensive weapons and magic treasures. However, there are very few of them that can be used to assist in cultivation. Dark, does this mask have a name? Di Shitian recognized treasures. Offensive magic treasures were the most common and were very common. However, those items that could enhance and assist, although they didn't seem to have any offensive power, were fundamentally used to enhance one's cultivation. All of one's strength was, in fact, based on one's cultivation realm. Just think about it, a 3 to 4-year-old child holding the sharpest sword in his hand, how could you expect him to be able to kill an adult man? No matter how powerful a treasure was, without the support of one's cultivation level, it couldn't exert its power. Therefore, the most precious things were those treasures that could assist in cultivation. There was only one treasure, and who wouldn't protect it as if it was their life? This purple gold mask was undoubtedly a supreme treasure among such treasures. I don't have a name, but Lunatic Di, why don't you name one yourself? It's yours now anyway. Refine it and brand it with your primordial spirit. No matter what it was originally called, it will follow your surname now. Nether was Nether. These words were spoken so boldly and confidently. Alright, this mask is entirely purplish gold. Purplish gold is the most honorable and should have the word Emperor on it. What I cultivate is the Emperor shocking the world. In the future, this mask will be called Emperor Extreme. Sakura wasn't hypocritical at all. After pondering for a bit, he gave the mask a name. This name matched the majestic aura emitted by the mask. The mask seemed to have a spirit of its own. When it heard Di Shitian's words, the purple gold glow on the mask became much gentler. Even the faintly discernible resistance seemed to vanish in an instant. Lunatic Di, quickly, refine this extreme king mask. Every treasure has its own spirituality. First, drip a drop of blood essence into the mask to create a connection between you and the mask. Then, communicate with the spirituality in the mask so that it will accept you and recognize you as its master. That way, this mask will be considered to have been initially refined by you. In the future, you will continue to nurture it and deepen the connection between you two. Then, you will be able to gradually display its power. Sakura naturally didn't have much hesitation. If it was a divine weapon, he wouldn't care too much, but this mask was a rare treasure. Naturally, the safest method was to refine it as soon as possible. Using his true power, He forced a drop of blood essence from his index finger and let it fall on the purple gold mask. As soon as the blood bead touched the mask, the patterns on the mask seemed to come alive and kept squirming. Like a dry sponge, they swallowed the blood bead in the blink of an eye. On the surface, there was not a trace of blood. At the same time, Di Shitian felt an indescribable mysterious connection between himself and the mask, as if they were connected by blood. Pa! The purplish gold mask flew up into the sky and flickered with divine light in midair. Suddenly, it quickly buckled onto his face. With a snap, the mask and his face were inlaid together. The mask squirmed on its own, causing the mask and Sakura to be more compatible, perfectly fitting on his face. For a moment, half of his face was covered by the mask, and a kind of formless awe-inspiring aura was inexplicably emitted. No, this mask seems to have been sealed before. I can't feel the spirituality in the mask. I can feel that there is a restriction in the mask. After putting the mask on his face, he used a drop of blood to establish the initial connection between himself and the mask. Just as he was about to imprint his primordial spirit into the mask, he found that there was an inexplicable restriction in the mask. This restriction seemed to have sealed all the spirituality in the mask, causing it to lose a lot of its power. Moreover, the restriction formed a gorgeous plum blossom. Break. Di Shitian condensed his demon consciousness into a sharp arrow, and with a powerful divine sense, he stabbed at the plum blossom, aiming to break the restriction. However, as soon as the invisible arrow touched the plum blossom, the originally still plum blossom suddenly spun in a circle. Plum blossom petals floated down and landed on the divine sense. Suddenly, an extremely powerful force came crashing over. Fart. He opened his eyes abruptly, and his body looked as if it had been struck by lightning. Half of his face was covered by the mask, and the part of his face that was exposed was deathly pale. With a cry, he coughed out a mouthful of blood, which fell in front of him. There was a trace of horror in his eyes. What a terrifying restriction. I can't even touch it, and it's already so heavily injured. Who placed this plum blossom restriction? Di Shitian was shocked. His mind was constantly buzzing, and his divine sense was scattered on the spot. Even his soul was shaken, and his eyes were seeing stars. An extremely uncomfortable feeling emerged in his heart. There is indeed something strange. Lunatic Di, this mask is probably not simple. Ming also let out a strange cry in surprise. Di Shitian ignored it and began to recuperate with the mask on. As soon as he circulated his cultivation, he immediately found that the mask was indeed magical. When he cultivated, the absorption of the power of heaven and earth was more than 10 times faster than before. The power of heaven and earth outside his body was about to condense into a substance. As expected of a cultivation treasure, he secretly focused on recuperating his demon consciousness. In the blink of an eye, another 3 days had passed, and his severely injured demon consciousness had gradually recovered. At this moment, Baihu's body was inexplicably suffused with white light, and a strong demon aura was constantly rolling. Behind her, with a swoosh, snow-white foxtails appeared. They were incomparably long and slender, and they kept dancing in the air. Traces of unconcealable charm were emitted from her body. Looking at her tails, there were a total of 5. They flew around nimbly. Huff! The fox tails suddenly retracted with an exhalation. Baihu opened her eyes, which were like autumn water, captivating. There was a hint of joy in them. Tianxiang, how's your recovery? Di Shitian had unknowingly opened his eyes, and the mask on his face disappeared like flowing water. When he saw Baihu, he couldn't help but reveal a hint of surprise in his eyes. He found that her charm seemed to have become even more astonishing in a short period of time. His expression also became spirited. Su Tianxiang pursed her lips and smiled. The power of the blood altar healed my injuries, and my cultivation returned to the Demon King realm. Moreover, I'm already at the peak of the 4th transformation of the demon core. After I go out, I just need to calm my heart and cultivate in seclusion for a period of time to prepare for the 5th transformation of the demon core. Once I succeed, I can break through to the 5th transformation of the demon core. This time, I've profited from a disaster. Not only have my injuries healed, but I've also broken through the checkpoint that I might not be able to break through even if I cultivate for hundreds of years. Although she didn't say thank you, there was a hint of gratitude in her eyes. She knew that if it weren't for the jade talisman Di Shitian gave her, she might be able to recover, but it would be impossible for her to progress further. In that case, we should leave the heaven-reaching tower. Xiao Yu and the rest should go out first. Old Meng and the rest must be waiting for us outside. We have to think of a solution to the flower demon pool. Di Shitian's expression was calm as he took out a heaven-reaching stone. He didn't find this stone himself. Baihu found many and gave him one. This thing could only be used in the tower. Moreover, once it went out, it would disappear on its own and turn into dust. It couldn't be preserved at all. It was useless no matter how many he found. Okay. The white fox replied in a meek voice. At this moment, in Tongtian Tower, the blood demon in a blood-red robe was holding a blood cloud banner. He was trapping the savage beasts inside the blood cloud banner and continuously devouring their flesh and blood. In the blood cloud banner, there was an evil-looking young man. As he continued to kill, his body became more and more solid, as if it was corporeal. His eyes revealed a bloodthirsty light. Di Shitian, when I, Xue Ini, am reborn, I won't let you go. You made me neither human nor ghost. The misery that happened to me will be inflicted on you in the future. Di Shitian, a roar filled with hatred came out of the young man's mouth. That terrifying hatred made his face become abnormally ferocious and terrifying. Hatred was really a terrifying force. The last indication of the compass is here. As soon as Di Shitian left, a group of cultivators appeared in the cave abode under the lake. The leader was Chu Yun. She held a compass in her hand and looked at the empty cave abode with a trace of pity on her face. We're a step too late. Di Shitian and the rest have already left the heaven-reaching tower. Zhong Yunfei had a thoughtful look in his eyes. He glanced at the people behind him. At this time, there were only 3 people still following him. Moreover, their faces were covered with frost. After all, Skysplit Tower wasn't a playground. Along the way, there were many casualties. Those that were able to survive until now could already be considered elites. Let's go. We'll leave this place too. Find a way to leave the tower. Chu Yun was not a good-for-nothing. If they continued to barge into the tower, they would probably be wiped out if they encountered any powerful savage beasts. And the battle between immortals and demons seemed to be over. To be continued. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 403. Miss. I just got the news that the demon clan got out of the tower first. Many people from the cultivation world went in, but it is said that most of them died under the claws of the savage beasts in the tower. However, those who came out got many corpses of the savage beasts and a lot of precious spiritual items. The demon clan also said that they found the demon transformation pool, but it was sealed for some reason. At the window of Linglong Pavilion, Yu Linglong, the master of Linglong Pavilion, who always wore a bamboo hat, was listening to the report of a maid in green beside her while looking at the endless stream of people outside. The content of the report was all about the immortal demon competition. She even knew that the demon transformation pool had been found by the demon transformation pool, but she didn't know why it was sealed. Even so, she knew that Linglong Pavilion was absolutely the best in the world in terms of intelligence. Yu Linglong was playing with a white jade teacup in her hand. She pondered for a while and said softly, "The immortal demon competition is just a way for the cultivation world and the demon clan to step down from each other. Most of the cultivation world's cultivators who are going through their tribulations are gathering there, waiting for the elusive opportunity. They lack masters. Although the demon clan has the support of the 8 demon kings, they are not afraid. However, the demons behind them can't survive the large-scale killing. Both sides have scruples. In fact, the cultivation world has to make a concession. Linglong, you really have a good heart. You can see the situation between the cultivation world and the demon clan so clearly. At some point in time, A voluptuous woman wrapped in black clothes had silently appeared in the pavilion behind him. She also wore a black veil that covered her face. Looking at her graceful figure, she was full of mature charm and made people want to commit crimes. "Mother, why are you here? Has Linglong Celestial Island arrived outside the tower?" Yu Linglong's body shook when she heard the woman's voice. She quickly turned around and stood up. There was a trace of joy and happiness in her voice. "Actually, I'm not as smart as you said. It's just that our Linglong Pavilion is independent of the cultivation world and the demon clan. The onlooker sees the game clearly. You." The black-clothed beautiful woman shook her head affectionately and said, "Linglong Celestial Island has already arrived in the ice field. Linglong, this time, you decided to set the gathering place of the Linglong Celestial Assembly here. It's enough to prove that you're already capable of taking charge of a region by yourself." His eyesight and decisiveness in handling matters were commendable. "When I was your age, I didn't have this kind of ability. Indeed, the immortal demon competition would draw most of the attention to this place." With the location of the competition, it would attract more cultivators. There were also cultivators and demons who entered the heaven-reaching pagoda. Not to mention those who died in there. If they came out, they would definitely have a lot of wealth on them. There were many spiritual essences in the pagoda. Many spiritual essences that were hard to find on the continent could be easily found in the pagoda. Spiritual essences that were 1,000 years old and 10,000 years old could be found in large quantities. This was an unimaginable amount of wealth. Then, there were the corpses of savage beasts, fur, blood, and so on. They were all treasures that could be used to refine pills or forge weapons. Now that the Linglong Immortals Assembly was being held outside, if these treasures were brought to the island for auction, or if they bought them themselves, it would bring great benefits to the Linglong Pavilion, and it would also expand their influence. Expand their influence. At that time, Yu Linglong had decided to let the Linglong Immortal Island come here without hesitation. Her eyesight was extraordinary. "But Linglong, there has been a weirdo in the demon clan recently. You should pay more attention in the future." The beautiful woman in black suddenly changed her tone and said with a trace of seriousness. Yu Linglong also nodded and said, "Mother should be talking about the demon king of the 10,000 Demon Valley in the southern barbarian lands, Di Shitian. Yes, this Di Shitian is not an ordinary person. His cultivation speed is extremely fast. It is said that his cultivation is already at the second transformation of the demon core. Everything he does is shocking. If there is no accident, I am afraid that the 9th demon king of the demon clan will be born in less than 100 years. He is a peerless weirdo that is rarely seen in the demon clan in 10,000 years. If there is no accident, Linglong, you should be a little more friendly to him in the future, and give him some benefits appropriately. Maybe it will be helpful to us in the future." There was a trace of importance in the beautiful woman in black's words, which was rare. Linglong has also investigated everything about him. If he does not die prematurely, the demon clan may have a chance to rise again in 10,000 years. Yu Linglong's eyes flashed with a trace of strange light. Not to mention the conversation in the Linglong Pavilion. At this moment, in the floating cloud ship, the 8 great monster kings were present. Apart from them, the various monsters that had entered the Tower of Babel were also present. In the dock, on a cloud table, there was a sparkling and translucent divine crystal stele. The words divine seal were still emitting bursts of divine light. The rock demon king gently swayed the feather fan in his hand. A trace of anger flashed in his eyes, and he was lost in thought. Silverhair and the others were also looking at the god-sealing stele. They were suddenly silent. The whole dock was filled with an oppressive atmosphere. Even the sound of heartbeats could be heard clearly. How abominable. I did not expect those despicable humans to take away the demon transformation pool. Not only did they suppress it for countless years, but they also left behind such a sinister move. Seeing that the demon clan wants to regain the demon transformation pool, they sealed it again. How can they be so shameless? A trace of indignation flashed across the Blood Dragon King's evil face. He looked at the god-sealing stele with resentment, wishing he could bite it to pieces on the spot. I have heard of the divine crystal stele before. It is said that it is the means of an ancient giant of the human clan known as Venerable God Sealing. It is extremely powerful. This God Sealing stele is able to seal the demon transformation pool. I am afraid that it was created by Venerable God Sealing himself. If we want to break this stele, I am afraid that with our strength, we will not be able to move it. Silverhair's expression was solemn. He had heard of this God Sealing stele before. It was said that this stele was formed by condensing the power of countless stars in one place. It was a divine stele formed by condensing the power of countless stars in one place. The power of the 5 element stars, the power of the Big Dipper stars, the power of the Big Dipper stars, the power of the Big Sun stars, and the power of the moon stars. Each star had its own unique star power. Take the Big Dipper for example. The powers of the 7 stars were different, but when combined together, they could erupt with astonishing power. Venus, Jupiter, Mercury, Mars, Saturn, the 5 element stars. Each star contained a rich power of the 5 elements, and so on. When the power of the stars fused, if the method was right, the power would be boundless. If the method was not right, even the body would be injured. This God Sealing stele was formed by the power of the stars. The power of countless stars was condensed in this divine stele, turning into mysterious restrictions and formations in the stele. Its power was immeasurable. The restrictions inside had long been formed into one. Whoever wanted to break it, no matter where they started, would have to face all the restrictions. Old Meng, no matter how strong this divine stele is, we have to give it a try. What is sealed inside is the hope of the demon clan. Without the demon transformation pool, the demon clan will not be able to last long after being slaughtered by the cultivators. Let me go first, the Rock Demon King said in a deep voice. The smile on his face had long disappeared. Instead, there was only endless solemnity. Extreme Yin God-piercing finger. Looking at the God Seal monument, Lin Ming placed the feather fan in his right hand back to his left hand. He stretched out his index finger and in an instant, the blood-red color of his finger faded away. It became as pure and translucent as snow, without the slightest flaw. The surrounding strength of the world was instantly swallowed up, all of it condensing on this snow-white finger. There wasn't the slightest bit of aura leaking out from the finger, it was just like an ordinary finger. However, it was as if all the colors in the world had gathered on it. What exquisite control! All the power is condensed on one finger, but not the slightest bit is leaked. Just based on this point, the Rock Demon King deserves his position as the leader of the Demon Kings. Since returning, Di Shitian had taken out the God Sealing stele and briefly explained the trip to the pagoda. Then, he placed the stele in the middle and did not say anything else. He just watched the 8 Demon Kings to see if they could crack it. At this moment, seeing the Rock Demon King make a move, he felt like the most terrifying divine weapon in the world. If it attacked him, he would be seriously injured even if he did not die. Bang! The finger silently passed through the air, not even emitting a trace of fluctuation. Just like that, the finger strangely poked the God Sealing stele. When it touched the God Sealing stele, a terrifying icy power completely erupted. Under the God Sealing stele, a layer of black ice spread out at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the blink of an eye, it covered the entire dock. The surrounding Demon Kings all circulated their demon chi to resist. The 8 Demon Kings were fine, but Xiaoyu and the others were pale. A layer of frost appeared on their faces. They hurriedly left and hid outside. Only Di Shitian had the Imperial True Force protecting his body. It formed a barrier outside his body, blocking the icy power outside. It was incomparably tough. He withstood it. And this was just the aftermath. The real target was the God Sealing stele. However, a ray of crystal light suddenly shot out from the God Sealing stele. An astonishing power circulated within the stele, easily blocking the power of the finger. It was unable to shake the God Sealing stele at all. It was like, you can be strong, but I will be strong. It was as firm as a mountain. Poof! The Rock Demon King's expression suddenly changed. His body shook and he immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. Clearly, He had suffered an extremely terrifying backlash. The restrictions within this god-sealing stele cannot be broken. Even my great yin god-piercing finger was unable to shake it in the slightest and instead suffered backlash. I'm afraid that with the strength of us brothers, we're unable to do anything to this god attainment tablet. When the Blood Flood Dragon King and the others heard this, their expressions turned gloomy. There was also an inexplicable sense of loss. The appearance of the flower demonic pond had given them great hope. However, before this hope could help them, it had been completely shut off. A seal had sealed this hope. It would have been fine if there was no hope, but to see it disappear with one's own eyes when there was hope, that kind of despair and sadness was unimaginable. At this time, Di Shi took a step forward. To be continued. If you want to know what happened later, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 404. He'd found out about how formidable the Godsbane tablet was from Ming a long time ago. It was the stellar Devil Seal tablet that belonged to the ancient Star Emperor. Even though it had been transformed, its foundation and quintessence hadn't changed much. It was a supreme divine ability and precious treasure that deterred the myriad of worlds during the ancient times, and its true might wasn't just limited to restrictions and seals. In terms of attack, it was also an unbelievably powerful treasure. Once they were sealed by it, not to mention the current Demon King Peng and the others, even a greater demon or demon saint might not be able to break through it in a head-on clash. The restrictions inside were closely connected with the power of the myriad stars. The truly powerful restrictions had a mysterious connection with the stars in the heavens. To break the stele, one had to shake the stars in the heavens. One could imagine how difficult that was. The Rock Demon King was the leader of the great demons. Just the aftershock of the great yin god-piercing finger was enough to turn the floating cloud ship into dust and freeze it into pieces. However, it couldn't do anything to the god-sealing stele. Instead, it suffered a backlash from the restrictions in the stele and was heavily injured. If even he couldn't do anything, the other demon kings would be wasting their efforts. For a time, the dock was filled with an oppressive gloom. In the deathly silence, every single one of them had a disappointed look in their eyes. It was obvious that the sealing of the demon transformation pool had completely extinguished the last bit of hope in their hearts. Suddenly, they were a bit confused about the future of the demon race. Big Brother Shui, brothers, this god-sealing stele was created by an ancient powerhouse. The demon transformation pool is now sealed within the stele. With our current methods, we can't even move it. If we want to break the restrictions, I'm afraid it's not something we can do right now. At this moment, Di Shi walked up and looked at the god-sealing stele. Under the intense erosion of the ice power, his expression was still normal. This expression was different in the eyes of the Rock Demon King and the others. His position in their hearts had risen a lot, and they paid more attention to him. No one put on the airs of the so-called 8 great demon kings. As long as one was not blind, one could see that Di Shi was a prodigy of the demon clan who could step into the realm of the ancient demon king sooner or later. In terms of getting along with him, he had long regarded him as an equal. He did not feel that it was rude to speak to Di Shi. Brother Di, you were the one who retrieved the god-sealing monument. I wonder if you have a way to break this monument. King Blood Wm's eyes lit up when he saw Di Shi. She could not help but place a glimmer of hope on him. The other demons also revealed looks of anticipation. Brother Jiao, you must be joking. Di Shi shook his head slightly and said, even Big Brother Shui can't break the restrictions in the god-sealing monument. With my cultivation, how can I possibly have a way? However, this tablet had been sealed in the flower demon pool by that human expert in front of his little brother. If he didn't wash away this humiliation with blood, he wouldn't be able to get rid of the anger in his chest. Therefore, I hope to keep this tablet with me so that it can motivate me to work harder every day. To them, Indra did not beat around the bush and directly opened his mouth to ask for the god-sealing stele. No. Just as Di Shi finished speaking, a sharp voice immediately stopped him. Although the god-sealing monument cannot be broken, it is an ironclad fact that the flower demon pool, the most precious treasure of the demon clan, is sealed in the monument. If it is kept by you, it doesn't seem appropriate. The 3 pairs of whiskers on the side of King Sky-devouring Rat shook back and forth as he shook his head repeatedly. Obviously, he would not agree. Even Silver Hair and the others were stunned. Obviously, it was almost impossible to take away the god-sealing monument with just a few words. However, Di was not discouraged because of this. He had long known that it was definitely not easy to obtain the god-sealing monument. However, he still had an assassin's letter in his hand. He smiled faintly and said, "Brother Snow, Demon Kings, the reason why everyone is so anxious to obtain the flower demon pool is actually because of the demon clan's inheritance plan. It is to continue the demon clan's vitality that has been severely damaged and even let the demon clan gradually prosper. However, I don't know if everyone remembers that to let all living things in the world gain intelligence and transform into demons, there is actually not only the flower demon pool." "Shitian, are you talking about the demon awakening technique?" When Baihu heard this, she frowned slightly and said hesitantly, "No, could it be that you are talking about the legendary purple thunder rain that can awaken all living things' intelligence without any hidden dangers?" A strange light flashed across Silverhair's face as he suddenly looked at Shitian. In this world, there were not many methods that could forcefully awaken intelligence for ordinary birds and beasts, flowers, and trees. Each method could be said to be incomparably precious. Second to none was the demon clan's most precious treasure, the demon transforming pool. With it, not only could it awaken intelligence and allow ordinary creatures to transform into demons and obtain a demon body, it could also cleanse the demon body and increase its aptitude. It was one of a kind in the world. But second to it was the purple thunder rain. This purple thunder rain used the power of creation within the thunder to awaken intelligence without any hidden dangers. Once the spirit cavities were awakened, they could immediately obtain a demon body and completely pass the stage of human transformation. The speed of cultivation would also be extremely fast. This secret method had an important position in the yarrow. For the yarrow to prosper, its use could not be ignored. Then there was the imperial flowing syrup. It was a peerless shen item that had fallen from the lunar star. Its effects were similar to the purple thunder rain. They were both treasures that could awaken intelligence without any hidden dangers. Next was the demon awakening technique. The hidden dangers of this demon awakening technique were extremely great. Not only would one's intelligence be like that of a child, it was even harder to grow. The speed of cultivation was also extremely slow. One could only be a subordinate of a little yarrow and would not be of much use. Less than 1 in 10 that could become a yarrow through the demon awakening technique. They would not even be able to completely transform and would have to carry the head of their original form all day. The 4 methods were divided into high, middle and low. He had given up on the idea of the high-grade yarrow transformation pool. The low-grade yarrow awakening art was not very useful at all. There were only 2 other methods that were of middle grade. Big Brother Meng, you should know that we entered the Sky Yarrow secret realm together in the past. We crossed the heavenly yin-yang bridge in the secret realm and entered the treasure vault in the secret realm together. In the treasure trove, I picked 2 ancient scrolls that can enlighten all living things and give birth to sentience. One is the purple thunder rain and the other is the imperial flowing syrup. They are both secret methods that can replace the demon transformation pool. Sakura casually made up a lie. Of course, he didn't get them from the sky demon mystic realm. Instead, they were 2 bargaining chips that Ming had given him so that he could obtain the god-sealing monument without any mistakes. Purple thunder rain and imperial flowing syrup. These 2 are secret methods of the yarrow that have been completely lost since ancient times. You actually obtained them in the Sky Yarrow secret realm. Could it be that the ancestors of the yarrow are protecting the younger generation of the yarrow to prevent the yarrow from losing their inheritance? When the Rock Demon King heard this news, he gripped the feather fan in his hand tightly in his palm. A trace of excitement appeared on his usually gentle and elegant face. It was not only him. A trace of excitement flashed across Silverhair's face. That's great. Even if there is no demon transformation pool, with the purple thunder rain and imperial flowing syrup, there will be a few showers on the continent. A few showers of imperial flowing syrup will definitely produce a large number of talented juniors in our Yao. The number will increase greatly. Not only can we recover our vitality, but we can also take a step forward and bring prosperity to our Yao. A rare smile appeared on the ancient tree demon king's old face. He was so excited that even the wrinkles on his face had lessened. I wonder if I can exchange these two secret methods for the God-sealing steely. Can you give me the God-sealing steely for safekeeping? Di Shitian brought up the previous matter again. At the same time, a light flashed in his hand, and an ancient scroll appeared in the light. He casually placed it on the cloud table and said, "Regardless of whether you agree or not, I will announce these two secret methods. I, Di Shitian, am also a member of the Yao. Although I have selfish motives, I have never been careless in the face of major issues." After saying that, he turned around and left the dock, giving them space to discuss. This move could be said to be brilliant. It could not only increase his impression in the hearts of the Yarrow Kings, but also not leave the image of a selfish person. He could also give them favors. Killing multiple birds with one stone. Without a doubt, it would increase his chances of obtaining the God-sealing steely by a lot. He had long seen through the temperament of the Yarrow Kings. They were definitely not the kind of people who would put away the ancient scroll without any burden. Lunatic Di, you did a good job. Compared to the God-sealing steely and the flower demon pool, these two secret methods are nothing. It just so happens that they can increase the strength of the current Yarrow clan. You eat meat, but you have to leave some soup for others. That God-sealing steely, when I break it, will return to its origin and transform into the star demon sealing steely. That's a real treasure. Don't you want to build the demon city? At that time, with this star demon sealing steely suppressing the city, you can draw down the power of the stars. It will envelop the demon city. Absorbing the power of the stars in the city to cultivate, the speed will definitely be so fast that you can't believe it. It will be unimaginably beneficial to your development of your faction. In any case, you have to get the God-sealing steely at all costs. Ming licked his lips and shouted excitedly. During this period of time, Di Shitian had talked to him and told him about the idea of the demon city. Ming immediately took this matter to heart. He seemed to be very excited, even more enthusiastic than Di Shitian himself. Yes. Therefore, no matter what, I have to get this God-sealing steely. It will be of great help to me. I want to build the demon city into a supreme Yarrow city that is unique in the world. With the star demon sealing steely suppressing the demon city and drawing in the power of the stars, I don't even need a formation. The entire demon city will be guided by the stars and soar into the 9 heavens. Di Shitian had the same plan. He continued, I heard that the Ling Long Immortals auction is held outside the heaven-reaching tower. Every time, the Ling Long Immortals auction attracts countless cultivators. There are countless precious treasures on the island. Especially the Ling Long Immortals auction held by the Ling Long Pavilion, countless treasures will gather. When the time comes, let's see if we can find the materials to build the demon city. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 405. Di Shitian was looking forward to the arrival of the Ling Long Fairy Association. As for the construction of the demon city, the best way he could think of was to use the power of incense and various precious materials to refine the divine crystal mentioned in the mysterious jade slip. Unfortunately, the divine crystal was easy to refine. He had accumulated a lot of incense over the years. He didn't have to worry about not having enough for consumption. But the key item, the smelting god pot, couldn't be refined with ordinary materials. I hope I can find the materials to refine the smelting god pot on Ling Long Fairy Island. It's also good to find other precious materials. The competition between the fairies and demons had ended. The sects in the world of cultivators would release the demons they had captured according to the agreement before the competition. They had also obtained the demon transformation pool, although it was sealed in the god-sealing tablet. But the battle between the world of cultivators and the demon clan had come to an end temporarily. Neither the world of cultivators nor the demon clan wanted to continue the conflict. Recuperating was what they wanted to do the most. Crazy Emperor, I can't believe you have the idea of passing down incense in the human world. However, if you refine divine crystals according to your method, the incense and power of will that you, a commoner from a small secular country, may not be enough. It will be consumed quickly. I'm afraid the power of faith will be exhausted before your demon city is built. Why don't you just send a message and ask China to start a war with the outside world to expand its territory and take in more people? The more people there are, the stronger the power of incense will be. Ming's eyes were bloodthirsty as he clicked his tongue. He was trying to provoke Di Shitian to start a war in the human world. Di Shitian didn't feel disgusted. Instead, he nodded and said, although I left China for more than 10 years, there are totems of me in every town in China. They believe in me, and I send some miracles from time to help them resist some natural disasters. Now everyone in China believes in me. There are more than 100 million people in China. The country is strong, the people are rich, and the military is prosperous. It's the best time to start a war and expand our territory. After a while, I will descend upon China with my divine sense and start the war. Although I can't absorb the power of faith, I've already understood some of the basic uses. Di Shitian didn't have much grudge against the common people in the secular world. Of course, this was only for the people who believed in him. In fact, the real enemy had always been the cultivators in the world of immortal cultivation. He couldn't vent his anger on ordinary people just because he had suffered a loss in the immortal cultivation world. However, faith, incense, and willpower could only be obtained through war. He would not directly intervene in these matters, but once the war started, he would just sit back and enjoy the fruits of others' labor. Hehe, lunatic emperor, I've done many things before, but I've never done something as fun as building a demon city. With me around, let's see if I can create the #1 demon city in history. Dark boasted loudly, not fearing that his boasting would be exposed. Standing at the bow of the floating cloud boat, under the suppression of the sky-reaching tower, the floating cloud boat couldn't fly at all. It was still on the ground. He saw a large number of cultivators leaving in a hurry in groups of 3 to 5, calling their friends. They seemed to be in a hurry to go to the Linglong Celestial Island. The Linglong Pavilion, which had been standing here before, had also been moved away. The crowd was gradually thinning out. Shitian. At this moment, Baihu walked out of the dock and approached him gently. She was holding a divine stele in her hand. Throwing the stele to Di Shitian, she said, Boss Shui and the others have finished their discussion. They've exchanged the Purple Thunder Sweet Rain skill and the ancient scroll of Emperor Molasses for this god-sealing stele. Now, it's yours. A relaxed expression appeared on her delicate face, as if the heavy burden on her shoulders had been lightened by a great deal all of a sudden. To perform the Purple Thunder Sweet Rain skill, you need to build the Heavenly Thunder platform to absorb the power of thousands of thunderbolts in the void and transform it into the power of creation. To perform the Emperor Molasses, you need to know the mysterious yin method. I'm afraid that both the Purple Thunder Sweet Rain skill and the Emperor Molasses will need a lot of effort to perform them. Di Shitian put away the god-sealing stele calmly. To put it bluntly, he deserved it. He didn't feel burdened at all. The Purple Thunder Sweet Rain skill should be able to descend soon. The Heavenly Thunder Jade, which is the most rare and difficult to find in refining the Heavenly Thunder platform, is one of the treasures in the Linglong Celestial Islands auction. Boss Shui and the others have decided to get it at all costs and refine as many Heavenly Thunder platforms as possible. As for the mysterious yin method, Boss Shui has it. It's not a big problem. Baihu smiled at Di Shitian charmingly. Each Heavenly Thunder platform could control an area with a radius of 10,000 miles. Rain Sweet Rain skill could only descend within this area. Moreover, it had to absorb the power of Heavenly Thunder continuously. It had to accumulate power. Naturally, the more Heavenly Thunder platforms were refined, the more Sweet Rain skill would descend. The more demon clans could be born, the more demon clans would be born. It seemed that the Rock Demon King and the others had started to plan to increase the demon clan's foundation at all costs. Di Shitian just smiled calmly when he heard that. But he had his own thoughts in his mind. If he didn't have absolute power to protect those newborn demon clan's descendants, it might not be a good thing to have more of them. Tian Xiong, how do you know what items will be auctioned in the Linglong Celestial Islands auction? Di Shitian changed the topic with suspicion. Every time the Linglong Celestial Islands auction, the Linglong Pavilion will make some items that are going to be auctioned into a celestial mirror and sell them. I also bought a book. See if there's anything you want in it. Bai Hu took out a celestial mirror that looked like a book. The celestial mirror was made of jade and was very thick. It could be seen that there must be a lot of content in it. Di Shitian didn't stand on ceremony with her. He reached out and took the celestial mirror in his hand. He casually flipped it open and saw pages of jade paper. The appearance of the items appeared vividly on the jade paper, as well as some simple appraisals. It could let people know the value of the items more clearly. It could be considered as a means of advertising in advance. In his previous life, it might not have been a big deal. But in this world where immortals and demons roamed freely, it was extremely novel. This Linglong Celestial Island is really unusual. Heavenly Thunder Sand, Illusory Spirit Jade, 10,000-year-old Purple Ginseng King, Mysterious Yin Crystal, Star Essence Gold, 10,000-year-old Ironwood Core, Water Repelling Pearl, Fire Repelling Pearl, Demon Sealing Pearl. So many rare treasures in the world are only auctioned here. And they're just a part of them. The Linglong Pavilion is really rich. Di Shitian only flipped through the front pages of the celestial mirror slightly. He was instantly shocked. This Linglong Celestial Island was really powerful and had a shocking amount of wealth. Some rare treasures seemed to be the most common among the auctioned items. The more precious ones were still at the back. He immediately focused and started to flip through the back pages. His eyes were shining. He memorized the contents of each page in his mind. The more he flipped, the more shocked he was. The ones at the front were the most common ones. For example, the ones at the back were some powerful magic treasures. There were no magic artifacts at all. Obviously, magic artifacts were not good enough for this level of auction. Every single one of them had been carefully selected. They all had unique powers. For example, a set of 49 mysterious yin sabers. They could be used to set up the mysterious yin demonic formation. They were extremely powerful. There were also some wonderful cultivation methods being auctioned. Whether it was immortal cultivation, demon cultivation, or demon cultivation, there were all kinds of cultivation methods. There was a complete variety. They were not afraid of not being able to attract your attention. There were also all kinds of spiritual essences, rare spiritual materials, magical elixirs, and even spiritual wine being auctioned. There were only things you couldn't think of, but nothing you couldn't find. There were so many kinds that it could be called exquisite. There was too much to take in. No wonder this auction has to be held continuously for 9 days and 9 nights. They're not afraid of not having enough items at all. He secretly sighed in his heart. At the same time, it aroused a trace of pride in his heart. When the demon city is built, I'll build an auction house on a larger scale than the Linglong Pavilion. It would include all the treasures in the world. Suddenly, when he flipped to the middle part of the immortal mirror, an item made Di Shitian stop flipping his fingers and look carefully. Heavenly Star, a meteorite that fell from the ancient starry sky and landed on the continent. It had an incomparably magical power that could make the surrounding objects float out of thin air. It was incomparably hard and difficult to destroy, but it emitted a strong magnetic light. If one approached the meteorite, they would be bound to the meteorite and unable to break free. Looking at the appraisal of the heavenly star, a look of interest appeared on his face. It has the power of magnetism. If it is integrated into the demon city, will it produce some magical power? He secretly thought in his heart, pondered for a moment, and continued to flip through. The more he read, the more surprised he was. There were many good things that he also paid attention to. Among them, a piece of divine meteorite iron caught his attention. The godly meteorite metal could be said to be an excellent material for refining weapons. When a star fell, all the power and matter of the entire star would fuse together to form the godly metal after all the impurities had been removed. A single star might not be able to obtain a piece of godly metal the size of a fist, but according to the description, the godly metal was as big as a human head. It was rare and precious. Phew. After a long time, he gently closed the immortal mirror and exhaled softly. He said, "It'll be a pity if I don't participate in the Ling Long Immortal Gathering. I heard that the gathering will be held in 3 days, right?" Baihu quietly waited for Di Shitian to finish reading. She nodded with a smile and said, 3 days later is the free trade time. You can buy and sell as you wish on the island. This time will last for 9 days. 9 days later, the auction will begin. At that time, it will be the most lively time. These were all examples that could be followed. Okay. Let's go to Ling Long Celestial Island together in 3 days. Chapter 406. The demonic Rock King and the others who had obtained the Purple Thunder Sweet Rain technique and Emperor Molasses all made copies of them and found a place to study them. They were also waiting for the Ling Long Fairy Gathering in a few days. They hoped to refine the materials for the Heavenly Thunder platform on Ling Long Fairy Island. They planned to go there personally and look for several treasures carefully. All of them were excited, as if they could see the day when the demon clan regained its prosperity. They found a place to leave. Di Shitian reactivated the restriction on the floating cloud ship and found a secluded place with Baihu to meditate. There are all kinds of rare treasures on Ling Long Immortal Island. The competition for the things you want must be fierce. I don't have many spiritual stones. Let's see if I can compete with others with my current wealth. Locking himself in a quiet room, Indra took out storage pouches one after another and placed them in front of him. He was preparing to properly sort them out and see how much wealth he had. At the Ling Long Fairy Gathering, the hard currency for transactions was spirit stones. After all, the spirit chi in spirit stones was very pure and easier to absorb than the spirit chi of heaven and earth. They were divided into low grade, middle grade, high grade, and supreme grade. The exchange rate for each was tenfold. 10 low-grade spirit stones were equal to 1 middle-grade spirit stone. Generally, the number of spirit stones used in transactions was low-grade spirit stones. Crash. He opened a few storage bags that were filled with spirit stones and poured them out in front of him. Pieces of spirit stones that were either bright or dim were poured out like pearls falling into a jade plate. They fell in front of him and piled up into a small mountain in the blink of an eye. There were both low-grade spirit stones and high-grade spirit stones. They were all piled up together in a pile. Divide. Di Shitian used his demon awareness to sense the quality of the spirit stones. He quickly divided the spirit stones into several piles of spirit stones of different sizes. He glanced at them and secretly examined them. He couldn't help but frown and muttered to himself, "There are 130,000 low-grade spirit stones, 6,000 middle-grade spirit stones, 1,000 high-grade spirit stones, and 100 supreme-grade spirit stones. I'm afraid I won't be able to buy anything good with these spirit stones." All of the spirit stones added up to only 390,000 spirit stones. 390,000 might seem like a lot, but when it came to an auction, it wouldn't even amount to a drop of water. Di Shitian had been killing and robbing people all these years. He had made a fortune on the Heavenly Fey Mystic Realms Yin-Yang Bridge to amass such a small amount of spirit stones. Usually, there was no source of spirit stones. Every piece that was used was 1 piece less. Moreover, he had never used spirit stones to cultivate. He had always used spirit wine. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to keep these hundreds of thousands of spirit stones. Hehe, you only have so few spirit stones. If you really want to auction something, it won't even be enough to fill the gaps between my teeth. However, you still have a lot of valuable things on you. At that time, we can also pay with items. Ming only glanced at the pile of spirit stones before looking away in disdain. With the source of life in your hands, You can just take one out and exchange it for any treasure you want. Although I have a lot of source of life, I only have 300,000 left after exchanging for the 6 divine feathers from the corpse demon. I can't use them carelessly. Moreover, a man's wealth is a crime. If I attract the attention of some people with ulterior motives, I will be in big trouble in the future. Now, the 4 great holy lands have probably already set their eyes on me. Who knows when they will come knocking on my door? Di Shi Tian took out a few empty storage bags and put the spirit stones in front of him into different bags according to their different qualities, classifying them into categories. He would have to do that in the future. He put away the 4 storage bags with spirit stones and placed them beside him. Then, he took out another storage bag hanging on his body. He put it in front of him. Instantly, with a crash, many strange items appeared in front of him. There were artifacts, treasures, talismans, spirit materials, and spirit quenching. They were scattered in front of him. Among them, most of them were things that weren't very useful. For example, there were quite a few Dharma treasures. They were all obtained from the thousands of cultivators in the southern barbarian lands. Not many of those cultivators even had a foundation, so they naturally didn't have any Dharma treasures. They all used Dharma treasures, and the quality wasn't very good. In addition, he got some from the heavenly demon secret realm. After counting, he had about 6,000 artifacts. Their shapes were strange, but the materials used to refine them weren't precious. Therefore, they weren't worth much. Only about 800 of these celestial devices are of good quality. The rest are dispensable. Even if I sell them, I won't be able to exchange them for many spirit stones. Well, when I refine the soul refining pot in the future, I'll refine these celestial devices with the power of incense and vow to refine divine crystals. Then, I'll be able to make the best use of them. Sakra glanced at them and carefully examined them with his demon sense. He separated these magic tools and put them into 2 different animal pouches. Among them, the ones with slightly better quality were just right for him to open an auction house in the demon city in the future. He would put these magic tools there so that his subordinates could use their merit points to exchange for magic tools and increase their own strength. Those artifacts that were obviously not of the best quality could be used to refine divine crystals. Divine crystals required the power of faith and various materials to be refined. However, there were no restrictions on the materials. Anything could be smelted. After putting these away, he continued to count his other assets. This time, he wanted to take a thorough inventory of how much wealth he had. How much wealth did he have? After counting the artifacts, it was time to count the treasures. There were no more and no less of these items. There were about 100 of them. Most of them were flying swords of different elements. Some were good, some were bad. Among them, there were about 50 to 60 swords of worse quality. However, they could be used as treasures. Even if he didn't need them, it would be good to give them to his subordinates in the future. However, there were some flying swords of good quality that had entered the ranks of middle-grade treasures. For example, the Autumn Water Sword, Blood Spirit Sword, White Bone Soul Sword, Ice Soul Sword, and so on. They were all powerful. Then there were the 2 5-element rings. One of them was a superior-grade treasure, and the other was a middle-grade treasure. One was taken from the 5-element sect's elder, and the other was taken from Deng Tianhua. There were also 5 5-element battle swords, 1 psychic compass, 10 battle armors, 1 cauldron. The mysterious black pearl in the box was suspected to be the lunar pearl of the 9 spirits pearl. There were some ordinary refining materials that could be used to refine god crystals in the future. There were also many valuable refining materials. There was a piece of 1,000-year-old jade the size of a human head, a piece of Tai essence gold that was the size of a fist, blazing flame stones, 1,000-year-old spiritual wood, various savage beasts' fur, bones, and even the most precious blood. There were 3 fire-warding pearls, water-warding pearls, and poison-warding pearls that were formed from the eyes of dead savage beasts. There were 6 divine feathers behind the Emperor Phoenix bird, as well as the Emperor Phoenix bird's egg. Most of the talismans were put into the heavenly mirror for Little White. As for the rest, they were thrown into the Shunnong Paradise map. There were many kinds of spirit quenches planted in the Shunnong Paradise map. Not to mention the ordinary medicinal herbs, there were more than 1,000 kinds of precious spiritual herbs gathered there. Most of them were used to brew wine. The most precious ones were probably the seed of life and the 6 divine feathers. After checking, Di Shitian shook his head slightly and said, "It seems that I'm not very rich. I'm afraid I'll have to take out a lot of spiritual wine and spiritual herbs to exchange for this auction." He didn't plan to use those magic treasures and refining materials. They were all things that were used a little and would be of great use in the future. He could brew spiritual wine after using it up. With the wine god's gourd, he wasn't afraid of a lack of wine. As for the heaven and earth spirit quenches, with the Shunnong Paradise map, as long as he put them in and didn't dig out their roots, some fruits would still grow after being plucked. It wouldn't take too much time. Crazy Di, you've collected so much wealth in a dozen years. It's not bad. With the seed of life in hand, your wealth can't be low. However, this Emperor Phoenix bird's egg is good stuff. If you hatch it, with the Emperor Phoenix bird's potential, it will definitely be a great help to you when it grows up. It can also be used as a mount. According to my master, the Emperor Phoenix bird isn't just the king of the first floor of Tongtian Tower. It's an extremely powerful king in every floor. When each Emperor Phoenix bird's strength reaches a certain level, it will go to a higher level. The higher it goes, the more terrifying it is. It's a big clan. Dark looked at the remaining egg of the Phoenix Emperor bird. His eyes glowed brightly as he hurriedly egged on. Hatch the Emperor Phoenix bird's egg. Sakra's eyes couldn't help but light up. Of the 2 eggs back then, one was eaten by him and the other was left behind until now. Placing his hand on the egg to sense, he found that there was an extremely huge life aura in the egg. Feeling his aura, the life in the egg even let out a trace of cheerful and intimate fluctuation. Ordinary methods can't hatch a beast egg. Even if it hatches, it's extremely difficult to make it recognize a master. Not only does it have to be the first person it sees, it also has to have a similar aura. You've eaten the Emperor Phoenix bird's egg, so your body has the aura of the Emperor Phoenix bird. I'll teach you a secret method to make it recognize a master. I guarantee that after hatching, the little Emperor Phoenix bird will definitely recognize you as its master. Great. Di Shitian didn't hesitate in the slightest when he heard Dark's words. He still had a deep impression of how powerful the Emperor Phoenix bird was. Those 3 feathers were so powerful that they could absorb anything into them. If it weren't for his divine abilities, he would never have been able to escape from that space. He would have been completely refined. If he could have an Emperor Phoenix bird by his side, it would be an extraordinary help. When it grew up, he could use it as a mount or even as a foe. He couldn't help but yearn for it. Alright, listen up. This secret magic is called the blood sacrifice embryonic birth technique. Without any further hesitation, Dark began to impart the secret magic to Di Shitian. It was a magical spell formation that involved using one's own blood to inscribe talismans on the egg. Then, his aura would enter the Emperor Phoenix bird's body through his blood, connecting them by blood. After being born, the Emperor Phoenix bird would recognize him as its master. Treat them like parents. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author and support the original reading. Chapter 407. It would never betray him. Instead, it would become more and more reliant on him. Of course, the blood sacrificial fetal birth technique had to be similar to the aura of life within the egg. Otherwise, the rejection between the bloodlines would increase the chances of failure. If he failed 3 times in a row, he would not be able to make the egg recognize him as its master. Moreover, he could only use this technique before the egg was born. Otherwise, he would not be able to make the egg recognize him as its master. With my physique after swallowing the Imperial Phoenix egg, there shouldn't be any possibility of rejection. The chances of success are very high. After grasping all the key points of the secret technique, Di Shitian did not plan to postpone this matter to the future. He had to do what he had to do now. This was a great opportunity. He bit the index finger of his right hand, and a faint trace of golden blood flowed out from his finger. The 10 fingers were connected to the heart, so the pain was unavoidable. However, this small amount of pain did not even make him frown. He placed the giant imperial phoenix egg in front of him, stretched out his finger, and quickly drew on the egg. As his finger moved, mysterious talismans drawn with blood began to appear on the egg. Every time he drew a talisman, the talisman seemed to be completely branded on the egg. These were the blood talismans. They were densely packed, one after another, and they began to cover the entire egg. Under the power of the blood talismans, the power of heaven and earth in the surroundings seemed to be quickly flowing into the egg through the blood talismans. The life force of the life within the egg was also growing stronger and stronger. This stroke took him a full 2 hours to finish drawing all the talismans, covering every inch of space. Vaguely, traces of blood were continuously seeping into the egg. Source of life. After finishing, Di Shitian's expression became somewhat dispirited. It was as if what he had just done had used up a lot of his energy and vitality. A trace of paleness appeared on his face. However, he did not stop. He casually grabbed a handful of source of life. There were more than 100 of them. They glowed with a dark green light, and traces of rich life energy were emitted from them. They were as flawless as gems, without a single flaw. Pater. Grabbing the source seeds, he wasn't stingy with these priceless treasures. He clenched his fist and crushed the 100 source seeds, turning them into green powder. He sprinkled it on the giant egg. The moment the powder landed on the egg, it was immediately absorbed by the talismans and sent into the egg. A huge amount of life force poured into the egg like a torrential river. Plop. Thump. All of the talismans on the egg suddenly sank into the egg. The entire giant egg suddenly emitted a layer of colorful light. The giant egg was like a heart, constantly moving up and down, letting out heavy beating sounds. With every beat, the surrounding power of heaven and earth would be sucked into the egg like a whale sucking in water. The beating was unusually strong and powerful. Good heavens, we did it. The blood seal had already fused with the egg, and the hatching speed was increasing. However, the hatching process required a huge amount of heaven and earth energy. Quickly put it into the Linglong treasure pagoda, let it be in the Linglong treasure pagoda, let it absorb enough heaven and earth energy in the pagoda. Otherwise, it will be born malnourished and difficult to raise. The stronger a savage beast was, the more heaven and earth energy it needed to be born. Without sufficient heaven and earth energy, it would die before it was born. If it didn't absorb enough heaven and earth energy, even if it was lucky enough to be born, it would still be extremely weak, damaging its foundation. Of course, there was no need for Dark to remind him of this. With a wave of his hand, he immediately put the egg into the Linglong treasure pagoda, waiting for it to absorb enough heaven and earth energy before hatching. This time, it would take a long time. After doing all this, Di Shitian put away the items in front of him and took out a storage ring he had obtained from Deng Tianhua. The space inside was several hundred times larger than a storage pouch, so all of the storage pouches and what-not were put into the ring. Taking out the god of wine gourd, he began to use the gourds he had prepared to store wine. These were the gourds he had prepared to use to pay off his debt during the auction. Of course, he had to prepare them first. Each gourd could hold 3 catties of spirit wine. Di Shitian, where are you? Come out for this princess. You don't keep your word. You don't keep your word. Suddenly, a delicate shout rang out from outside the dock. The voice contained a trace of anger, as if Di Shitian owed her something. Big sister, I told you he was hiding. He wants to break his promise. As Di Shitian was pouring wine, he heard the shouting outside. He couldn't help but frown slightly. Then, a wry smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Inwardly, he complained, why is it these dragon girls? Don't tell me they still want to pester me to compete with them in gambling. With a helpless wave of his hand, he removed the restrictions on the floating cloud boat. He already knew that the ones who had come were the 3 troublesome dragon princesses. The other 2 were fine, but the eldest one was simply addicted to gambling. Being pestered by her was annoying to the point of death. And yet, before entering the Skysplit Tower, he had promised to gamble with her again after coming out. A headache was a headache. He really couldn't bring himself to go back on his word. Bang! Just as he was thinking, the door to the quiet room was pushed open. 3 dragon girls with unique temperaments appeared in front of him. When the eldest Princess Ao Qing saw Di Shitian, her eyes lit up. She hurriedly stepped forward and said in a delicate voice, "Di Shitian, do you still keep your word?" She didn't say much. Instead, she asked a question. Yes. Although he was helpless, the words he spat out were still powerful and resonating. "All right, then let's make a bet according to our agreement." Ao Qing's eyes revealed a trace of excitement. She shouted, "You can take out your stake. If there is a gamble, there must be a stake. Don't worry, no matter how high the stake you take out is, I, Ao Qing, will definitely not take out anything worse than yours." Di Shitian took a deep breath. Since he couldn't avoid it, then he might as well gamble once. He wasn't afraid of anyone, so what if he lost? Just as he was about to speak, his mind suddenly trembled. Countless thoughts appeared in his mind, and his expression changed. He quickly changed his tone and said, "3 princesses, Di Shitian has some matters to attend to. I hope that you can temporarily take care of them. When I'm done, I'll gamble with the princesses again." After he finished speaking, the countless thoughts in his mind continuously rumbled. Although he could forcibly suppress them, these prayers and thoughts all came from his soul. It was as if there were millions of people praying to him. Only the totemic beliefs established in China could cause such a thing to happen. With such a huge commotion, it was likely that something big was going to happen. He immediately closed his eyes and followed the threads in his mind to the totemic idol. You! Ao Qing's originally high spirits were immediately extinguished by Di Shitian's words. She pointed at him, trembling with anger. Just as she was about to question him, she saw that Di Shitian really closed his eyes and his mind had left his body. She knew that he wasn't just brushing her off. She was so angry that she flung her sleeves and let out a heavy snort. "Big sister, this Di Shitian can't be deliberately avoiding and not wanting to fight, right?" The second princess, Ao Hong, blinked and shouted. "Big sister, second sister, it can't be." The third princess, Ao Shui, blinked her limpid eyes and said in a childish voice. Her 2 eyes curiously sized up Di Shitian. Could it be that something big has happened in China? Why would there be such a large-scale prayer? Nothing can happen to China. This is the foundation for me to harvest the power of will in the future. Di Shitian's mind followed the threads in his mind to cross the boundary of time and space and arrived at the largest totemic idol in the capital of China. At this moment, the totemic idol was surrounded by a black divine light and was full of holiness. People didn't even dare to look at it more than a few times. When ordinary people looked at it, they would naturally feel a kind of piety and worship the totemic idol. Surrounded by divine light, it looked incomparably magical. Like the Buddha statues that were often worshipped in temples, they would naturally have a kind of majesty, like the sun shining brightly. This was the same principle. Now, the totem statue was already extraordinary, and it was filled with an endless amount of incense and willpower. It could be said to be a supreme treasure. Di Shitian could even use this idol as a second body without any hindrance. At this moment, under the idol, China's emperor, Hua Wanwu, was wearing a dragon robe at this moment. His whole body also cultivated the majesty of an emperor. He stood at the head, holding a long ancient scroll in his hand and reading something personally. Behind him, the civil and military officials were lined up in 2 rows. Behind the officials, in the huge square, countless people gathered. In the capital, even if the people didn't come to the square, the other people were at home worshipping Di Shitian's totemic idol. They prayed sincerely. Not only that, if one could see at this moment, they would find that almost all the people in all the cities in China were doing the same thing. That was, praying to the totemic idol. Next to the totemic idol, a middle-aged man dressed as a Confucian scholar just looked at them calmly. He stood in front of them with awe-inspiring divine power. As he roared, It was as if he was going to swallow the sky into his mouth. His power was boundless. I hope you can really help. Otherwise, if that demon god comes out, the entire Zijin continent will suffer a terrifying calamity. The middle-aged scholar suddenly let out a sigh. My Qing clan has done its best. Sacred Tiger, Hua Wanwu brings all the people of China to pray to your excellency. We pray that your excellency will descend. Descend. China is about to be destroyed. Hua Wanwu knelt on the ground and prayed, his eyes full of devotion as he looked at the totemic idol. Invisible, milky white gas rose from the bodies of countless people, gathering towards the statue from all directions. Rumble. Rumble. At this moment, Di Shitian's divine will descended into the idol. Di Shitian felt as if he had gained another body, and an incomparably powerful feeling entered his mind. Endless incense and faith power filled every corner of his body. This faith power made him feel incomparably powerful, even more powerful than his demonic body. To be continued. If you want to know what happens next, please go to www.chidian.com and read more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 408. He learned from the mysterious jade slip that if he could really turn the power of faith into his own, he must first refine the power of faith into his own divine power. At that time, he would be able to perform all kinds of divine arts similar to magical powers. The key to the divine path was in the transformation of divine power. Unfortunately, the method of transforming divine power had long been lost. It also required a divine position to condense one's own divine seal. If he wanted to be a god of fire, he would have to cultivate a fire-related divine position, the moon, and the power of the moon. When he reached the limit, he would be a moon god. Wait. Everything could give birth to a divine position. With a function, he could become a god. But the key was that the method of transforming divine power was no longer available. Without the method, even if you wanted to be a certain kind of god, your own divine power could not be transformed. Every god's divine power was different. Different great powers were given according to one's divine position. Unfortunately, the restriction in the jade slip is too strange. I can't see the contents of the restriction at all. Otherwise, I could get the real method of cultivating gods and maybe use it to step into the divine path. However, I'm not in a hurry. I'll wait until I grasp the mysterious connection between the power of faith and my body's aperture points. Maybe, even without the method of cultivating gods, I can find another shortcut and combine demon cultivation with the divine path to help me improve. Di Shitian felt the huge and boundless power of faith contained in this body and could not help but secretly swallow a mouthful of saliva. For more than 10 years, hundreds of millions of people in China worshipped every day and gathered a huge amount of power of faith, which was simply earth-shattering. For example, if a person worshipped day and night, the power of faith produced in a year could be refined into half a year's divine power. Then, in 10 years, it would be 5 years of divine power. 100 million people, each of them gave him 5 years of divine power. That was an enormous amount of power. If he could take it for his own use, he would immediately soar to the sky. Over the years, he had been thinking about how to open up an aperture point in his body to store the power of faith. Then, like the demon vein, he could create a divine vein in his body and guide the power of faith into the demon residence to refine the power of faith for his own use. Then, he would really make rapid progress. There would be countless people's power of faith to help his cultivation without needing to absorb it. That speed was unimaginably fast. Just by absorbing the power of faith stored in the past 10 years, he could push his cultivation base to an incredible height. These thoughts flashed through his mind in an instant. With a slight movement of his body, the ground around him shook violently. It was as if the totem had been connected to the earth and had become part of it. Roar! The black tiger's eyes shot out 2 beams of astonishing divine light. It opened its mouth and let out a tiger's roar that covered the entire region of China. Amidst the tiger's roar, a golden rain fell from the sky. It continued to descend, landing on the bodies of all the pious praying people. As soon as it landed on their bodies, It was as if it had landed on a dry sponge. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared into their bodies. All of a sudden, the fatigue of the people who had bathed in the rain was swept away. Even the small illnesses and pains on their bodies disappeared. This was miraculous. In the eyes of ordinary people, this was a miracle. Lord Sacred Beast has appeared, Lord Sacred Beast has appeared. We welcome the arrival of Lord Sacred Beast. Amidst the countless prayers, Di Shitian's body swayed. The huge totem standing in the center of the imperial capital turned into a human form in a dazzling divine light. His black hair fluttered in the wind, and his body was covered in a black robe. There was a strange indifference at the corner of his mouth. He rose into the air and stood in midair. He looked down on all living beings. Hua Wanwu, what business do you have with me? Di Shitian's indifferent eyes fell on Hua Wanwu, who was at the front. At this moment, Hua Wanwu was much more mature than before. He was a middle-aged man in his 30s. Even his chin had grown a beard. Mr. Di, China is about to face a great disaster. The civil and military officials had no choice but to disturb you. Please forgive us, sir. Hua Wanwu saw that the totem had magically turned into Di Shitian's appearance. He looked exactly the same as when he saw him more than 10 years ago. The majestic aura made him look away immediately. China is about to face a great disaster. Di Shitian frowned slightly. There was a trace of suspicion in his eyes. Di Shitian, don't make things difficult for him. I asked him to find you. Do you remember me? The middle-aged Confucian scholar who was standing at the side took a step forward elegantly. There was a kind of calm aura around him. He looked up at Yi Futian. Although there was a trace of surprise in his eyes, he still had the calmness that he cultivated. Although he was surprised, his mind was not disturbed. He could maintain his composure. You are from the Qin family. We met in the heavenly demon secret realm. Since Di Shitian's arrival, with the help of the boundless power of will and his protection of China, he naturally had other connections. Few things around him could be hidden from him. For the middle-aged Confucian scholar, he had seen it from the beginning. Thinking back to that time in the secret realm, the middle-aged Confucian scholar told him about Katomi. His heart was bitter. In order to see him, she was willing to be grounded for 100 years. To be honest, he did not know how to face her. If he could not see Katomi's feelings, then he was worse than a fool. It's good that you remember. Xin is in danger now. The middle-aged Confucian scholar nodded. Your totem body has gathered boundless power of will. Maybe you can help, so I came to find you. Di Shitian raised his eyebrows. There was a flash of light in his eyes. He said in a low voice, "Where? You lead the way." He did not hesitate at all. When he heard that Katomi was in danger, he did not think about the dangers at all. He prepared to go without hesitation. Xin did not see the wrong demon. Come with me. I will tell you as we go. This matter is not simple. If you are not careful, it will be a disaster beyond redemption. Although the middle-aged Confucian scholar looked calm, it seemed that the matter was really urgent. Without any delay, he turned and flew in the direction of the Guqin Valley. Di Shitian waved his hand. A 5-colored cloud appeared under his feet and followed closely. Do you know why the Qin family has always guarded the Guqin Valley? For countless years, the Qin family has never stepped into the immortal cultivation world. If the Qin family enters the world, the 4 great holy lands will have to change their name. The middle-aged Confucian scholar looked at Di Shitian as he flew forward and asked a strange question. Why? Di Shitian asked curiously. Because an ancient demon god is sealed here. This demon god is very strong. He once dominated the ancient era and committed countless massacres. Who knows how many creatures have died at his hands? In the end, he was defeated. However, he was unable to kill him. He could only rely on the power of time to constantly wear down his undying body. And my Qin family is the guardian clan that guards the seal. For countless years, we have guarded this place. Generation after generation, we have spent our lives on this seal. The middle-aged Confucian scholar said it casually. However, in that simple sentence, the Qin family had paid a heavy price. Generation after generation, they were all trapped here. How could an outsider understand the bitterness of this? Even though Sakra's temperament was extraordinary, he couldn't help but feel deep veneration. A demon god that couldn't be obliterated in the ancient times, what kind of terrifying existence was that? The Qin clan guarded this place for countless years, and this achievement wasn't only bestowed with favor to the human race. Similarly, almost all the living beings on the continent had received their favor. Could it be that the disaster you mentioned this time is a problem with the seal? Di Shitian's expression was solemn. If there really was a problem, the trouble would not be just a little bit. The seal has been continuously eroded by the demon god's demonic aura since the ancient era. It has held on until now and is on the verge of collapse. The middle-aged Confucian scholar took a deep breath and sighed. Just half a month ago, the demon god attacked the seal again. A corner of the 8 trigrams heavenly melody demon locking formation was broken, and the demonic aura leaked out. A large number of demons rushed out of the seal. As they hurried, he recounted everything. Slowly, everything appeared in Di Shitian's mind. He could not help but be secretly shocked. He finally understood the horror of this disaster. Once a flaw appeared in the seal, it immediately gave the demon god an opportunity. A large amount of demonic aura leaked out, and at the same time, a large number of demons followed. These demons were not simple. They were extremely powerful, and each of them had the strength of an immortal. Their numbers were increasing at every moment, and the demonic aura was abnormally strong. If the ancestors of the Qin family, who had long stopped caring about worldly affairs, did not take action and activated the 8 trigrams heavenly melody demon locking formation to firmly trap the demons and demonic aura. At this moment, once the demonic aura erupted, not to mention the Qin Music Valley, the whole of China would turn into a demonic domain. Under the invasion of the demonic aura, everyone would turn into demons and become demons. That would be the most terrifying disaster. Di Shitian pondered for a moment and said, "What can I do to help?" Not to mention that China was his land of faith, even if it was because of Katomi in the Qin Music Valley, he could not help but do his part. Originally, the 8 trigrams heavenly melody demon locking formation was getting weaker and weaker because the demon subduing tune in the formation was gradually losing its effect. In order to strengthen the formation with the demon subduing tune, one must have the verdant zither. The second is to learn the Qin family's most famous immortal song, the heavenly melody demon subduing tune. Katomi has not learned the immortal song yet. Now, it is only supported by the verdant zither's own power. The middle-aged scholar looked at Di Shitian strangely and said with a trace of strange charm, "In fact, when you spread your faith in China and set it up as a totem, you wanted to gather the power of faith in the secular world. If the Qin family wanted to wipe out your faith, it would not have been difficult at first. Do you know why you have been a totem in the secular world for so long and no cultivators have come to destroy you? Instead, you have successfully become a totem. You have become the symbol of China." Di Shitian could not help but feel waves of shock in his heart. The secular world was the foundation of the cultivation world. If China suddenly set up a totem and set up a faith, it was impossible not to attract the attention of some people with ulterior motives. It was possible that some people could not stand it and directly destroy the statue. In the beginning, it was absolutely possible to kill it. It had been so calm and tranquil that it was now deeply rooted. Unless Hua was completely wiped out, there was no way to erase this belief. However, it was a little too smooth. P.S. Recommend a very novel, but not overly innovative prehistoric novel. The main character establishes justice and harmony between the 3 sects of Xian men. In the end, he becomes an immortal and indestructible giant. If you want to know more about the future, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 409. Abnormal was a demon. This kind of smooth sailing was too strange. It wasn't that Di Shitian didn't have doubts. Back then, he was already prepared to deal with all kinds of hardships. But it was so smooth. Doubts were doubts, but after careful investigation, he didn't find anything strange. The power of incense and will grew stronger day by day. After a few years, the totem had been deeply rooted in the people's hearts, and no power could erase it. Faith had been deeply rooted, and there was no need to worry about anyone coming to destroy it. Because, even the most ferocious cultivator couldn't get rid of his faith. Unless the entire China was slaughtered, this was probably something that even the cruelest demon wouldn't do. Once it was done, it would definitely arouse public anger. Without Di Shitian's intervention, the immortal cultivation world would deal with him. Thinking about it again, there was no Shinto method in the world, and no cultivator would care too much about these totems. No matter how much incense and will gathered, if they didn't know how to transform it into divine power, it was still useless and a waste of energy. It was you who did it. The middle-aged scholar only gave a slight reminder, and with Di Shitian's shrewdness, it was like a flash of light flashed through his mind almost instantly. He immediately solved the doubts of the past completely, and for those things that he couldn't figure out, it also became reasonable. Only the Qin family had the ability to block all the storms. It allowed Di Shitian to spread his faith so smoothly in China. Could it be that your purpose was all for today? Di Shitian's eyes flashed, and he looked at the middle-aged scholar with shining eyes. An extremely difficult emotion inexplicably rose in his heart, and there was no lack of anger. If it was really so, he could imagine that as early as more than 10 years ago, he had already been used as a chess piece by others, and it was others who had set the first move. Set a trap for him. This trap seemed to be prepared for today. Or, it could be said that it was a backup plan. Now that things have come to this, there's nothing to hide from you. That's right. It was indeed for today. In other words, it's a last resort prepared for this unsalvageable situation. The middle-aged scholar was not moved by Di Shitian's anger at all. He only looked at the sky mockingly and said, however, it doesn't matter even if you are angry. It doesn't matter if you don't want to go to the Zither Music Valley. Think about how my Qin family has guarded the seal for countless years. Countless ancestors have silently sacrificed their lives for it. My Qin family doesn't owe the countless creatures of the purple gold mainland anything. If we really can't do anything and you're unwilling to help, then I, Qin Wuyo, will go against our ancestral teachings and open the Qin realm. I'll take everyone in the Qin family inside and hide in seclusion. I'll let the cultivation world and even the demon clan resist. Suddenly, there was a hint of a fearless attitude in his words. What effect does the power of will have on the seal? After a moment of silence, Di Shitian asked. Smart. The middle-aged scholar sighed in admiration and said with a faint smile, what you have established is a totem of faith. When the people pray to you, they contain the most beautiful wishes in their hearts. The power of will is extremely pure. The power of incense and will itself was an extremely miraculous power. Back when the divine path was flourishing, the competition for faith was very fierce. It just so happens that it and demonic qi are two opposing forces. If you use the boundless power of will to suppress the seal, with the endless power of will, you can imprison the demon god for a while. Totems were meant to protect the country and its people. When the people prayed, the power of will they emitted had a kind of kindness in it. Although Di Shitian had no way to convert the power of will into divine power, it still had an extremely miraculous ability. If he used this incomparably huge amount of power of will to suppress the seal, and the countless people in China would gather an endless amount of power of will every day. When the seal was suppressed, not only would it have boundless power, but it would also have boundless power. It would indeed be able to hold on for a long time. The Qin family's foresight was truly extraordinary. Hearing this, Di Shitian fell silent. He didn't say much, but he didn't stop and continued to rush towards the Qin Sound Valley. All of this took a long time to describe, but in fact, it was something that happened in a few moments. In the blink of an eye, the scenery in front of him suddenly changed. After passing through a strange restriction outside the valley, he finally saw the Qin Sound Valley. At this moment, the Qin Sound Valley was filled with bursts of music that resounded through the sky. What was strange was that outside the valley, it couldn't be heard at all. It was as if these were two completely different things. Heart-cleansing body song. Di Shitian only felt his mind suddenly become empty, as if a clear spring had been poured into his heart, and he became abnormally calm. Even his spirit was lifted. He was very familiar with this song, and he knew it himself. It was the Qin family's famous heart-cleansing body song. However, at this moment, in the valley, it wasn't a single person playing together, but various instruments playing together at the same time. The crisp and melodious sound echoed in the valley over and over again. There were traces of strange ripples that reverberated in the void. What a strong demonic qi! Looking up at the sky, layers of demonic clouds were rolling violently above his head. They were as black as ink, and within the demonic clouds, the demonic qi was incomparably ferocious. It roared continuously and charged down, clashing with the mysterious power of the heart-cleansing body song. The demonic qi was constantly being purified and destroyed by the sound. The entire Qin Sound Valley has been sealed. With the heart-cleansing body song blocking, the demonic qi can't escape for now. However, as time goes on, it's hard to say. Qin Wuyo also took a deep look at the demonic qi in the sky and said, "Come, follow me. The seal isn't here. This is only the periphery. The demon gods and demons are all blocked in the demon-subduing lake." With that said, he quickly moved in a certain direction. Di Shitian followed closely behind. Not long after, a terrifying scene appeared in front of him. This is. He looked at the demonic qi in front of him in horror. It was so dense that it had turned into liquid. What was even more terrifying was that there were ferocious demons everywhere. In front of him was a strange lake. The water in the lake was constantly rolling violently, stirring up huge waves. Although it wasn't a very big lake, the rolling water gave off a terrifying aura as if the sea was roaring. Even the water in the lake was as black as ink. On the surface of the lake, there were bubbles rising from the bottom of the lake. When the bubbles burst, black gas gushed out. This gas continued to rise. It wanted to rush out of the lake and into the clouds. The demonic qi in the surroundings came from the lake. Above the lake, a huge 8 trigrams diagram appeared out of thin air, radiating countless golden lights and constantly rotating. Under the illumination of the golden lights, the endless and terrifying fiend qi in the surroundings produced sizzling noises, as if water and fire were colliding with each other. They constantly destroyed each other. Around the lake were 8 ancient bronze pillars. Each pillar was 90 feet tall, and densely covered with mysterious talismans. The talismans revolved around the pillars, emitting countless rays of divine light. Gradually, the pillars sealed the entire lake. These 8 pillars were the devil sealing pillars. However, at this moment, one of the pillars was covered with terrifying cracks. The divine light on the pillar dimmed, and the cracks continued to spread, as if they were going to cover the entire pillar. Countless streams of demonic qi were leaking out from the pillar. Around them, one old man after another was in a formation to prevent the demonic qi from leaking out. From the aura emitted from their bodies, almost every single one of them gave Sakura an inexplicable pressure. They weren't transcending tribulation, nor were they ascending to immortality. They were definitely experts who had stepped into the path of immortality. Upon closer inspection, there were over 100 such experts. Demonic qi churned in the lake, and the roars of demonic gods continuously bombarded the seal, causing beads of sweat to appear on the faces of these old men. From the looks of it, it was definitely not going to be easy. In the sky above the lake, atop the huge 8 trigrams diagram, Kotomi was dressed in plain clothes, looking like an otherworldly immortal. In front of her was a green zither. Her fingers moved lightly, and the melodious tune of the heart-cleansing body song rang out. Waves of immense vitality poured into the 8 trigrams demon vanquishing diagram, helping the seal resist the attacks of the demon gods. A fine layer of sweat continuously seeped out of her pores between her brows. With every demonic roar, her body couldn't help but tremble slightly, and her face turned paler. However, with the help of the green zither's power, she was still able to suppress the demon gods below and maintain the seal. Roar. A sky demon roar erupted from the lake, and the water in the lake seemed to be about to turn upside down. demonic chi churned, and a large group of demons suddenly gathered together to form a terrifying giant demonic face. It roared ferociously and charged toward the 8 trigrams diagram. "Watch out!" the old men roared, and they all poured their magic power into the 8 demon ceiling pillars. The 8 trigrams diagram in the air brightened, emitting a dazzling divine light. Rumble. The demonic face crashed into the 8 trigrams diagram, and suddenly, countless bolts of lightning, wind, fire, great swamps, and black ice bombarded it. The demonic face was defeated, but the 8 trigrams diagram also shook violently, and a few more terrifying cracks appeared on the broken copper pillar. Several elders trembled violently and spat out mouthfuls of blood. Their expressions became extremely dispirited. Kotomi, who was using the green zither to suppress the seal, was even paler. It was obvious that she had suffered unimaginable damage, but she was still holding on. Just how terrifying is the demon god sealed below? Di Shitian couldn't help but be shocked. The demon god hadn't even made a move yet, but the demonic chi and demons alone were already so terrifying that the seal was almost destroyed. If the demon god really did come out, how terrifying would that be? How do I do it? Although this body's power of belief is enormous, you should know that I can't use much of its power. I also don't know how to seal the demon god. Seeing Kotomi's weak appearance, Di Shitian couldn't help but feel pain in his heart. He looked at Qin Wuyo and asked in a low voice. He, the first sect master of the 10,000 monsters, roaming dragon 99999. Born. Thank you for your constant support, brother. I wonder if there will be an alliance leader when the myriad goblins war ends. Chapter 410. No matter what the reason was. Just by looking at Kotomi's delicate appearance, Di Shitian could not watch her die under the claws of the demon god and remain indifferent. Forget it. Forget it. Sakura secretly sighed twice in his heart. Even if the Qin family had really schemed against him, he had also obtained boundless benefits. This time, I'll just take it as doing my part for the demon race in the world. If the devil god breaks out of the seal, my demon race will definitely not be spared. The southern barbarian isn't far from here. The myriad demon valley might be the first to bear the brunt and be harmed by the demons. When Qin Wuyo heard Di Shitian's words, he could not help but look at him with a trace of praise. A light flashed in his hand, and a wooden sculpture that was dozens of feet tall fell down with a loud bang. It stood in front of him. This wooden sculpture was completely black, and every hair on it was incomparably clear. A domineering and awe-inspiring black tiger proudly raised its head and roared at the sky as if it was competing with the heavens for supremacy. It was as if it was real and alive. This was made by my Qin family from the heart of 10,000-year-old iron wood. It is engraved with the 8 trigrams heavenly melody demon subduing formation. As long as you inject the power of wish in your body into your divine sculpture, it will activate the formation inside. With the power of wish as the source, it will produce a mysterious connection with the demon subduing formation in front of you, and the power of wish can be applied to the seal. Seal the demon god. Qin Wuyo pointed at the sculpture in front of him with a solemn expression. Whether it succeeds or not will depend on the will of the heavens. There's no time to lose. Let's begin now. Okay. Di Shitian shouted. His body soared into the air and landed on the back of the wooden sculpture. Waves of milky white power of wish poured into the sculpture like a tide. Roar. 2 divine lights shot out from the 2 pitch-black eyes of the sculpture, and its entire body emitted waves of dense pressure. It was awe-inspiring, and it actually soared into the air, roaring and rushing toward the 8 trigrams in mid-air. Countless divine lights shot out from its body and shone on the dense demon chi in the surroundings. Suddenly, it was like water and fire colliding, emitting intense sizzling sounds. Large amounts of devil chi melted under the divine light, or it could be said that they were annihilated at the same time. However, the power of will was endless, and even the demonic chi was suppressed in an instant. He flew up into the air and appeared in the middle of the 8 trigrams. Below him was Kotomi. Di Shitian shouted, "Kotomi, move aside. Let me do it. Shitian, you have to be careful." The suppressing devil god is extremely powerful. His true body is still being suppressed in the lake. Just the devil chi he emits and the devil generals under him also possess terrifying strength. In fact, Kotomi had already seen Dai Shitian when he arrived. However, because she had to rely on the power of the Lu Chichin to support the seal, she couldn't separate herself. However, the joy in her heart was unknown to outsiders. That year, in order to see him, she was even willing to agree to the request of being grounded for 100 years. Unfortunately, in the secret territory, although they met each other, they didn't even speak a word. This regret had always been buried deep in his heart. Indra nodded in a heavy voice. Upon seeing Chinshin leaving, the amount of willpower he channeled into the statue grew even denser. Boundless divine light shot out in all directions, breaking through the shroud of devil chi. It was like the sun rising in the morning, unceasingly dispersing the darkness. With a bang, the sculpture landed in the middle of the 8 trigrams. Awoo! 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 An earth-shaking tiger's roar came from the sculpture. Countless amounts of willpower poured into the 8 trigrams diagram below like a tide. Immediately, the divine light emitted from the 8 trigrams diagram suddenly became incomparably intense, becoming unprecedentedly strong. It landed on the boundless demonic chi, forcing the aggressive demonic chi to rapidly retreat on the spot. Bursts of demonic subduing sounds came from the 8 demon sealing pillars. Under the influence of the demonic subduing notes, a large number of devils suddenly became incomparably frenzied. Their demonic notes carried a kind of fear, as if doomsday was coming. Countless sound waves turned into thousands of sound blades, carrying the power of demonic subduing. They danced in the air, and the devils cut by these sound blades were annihilated into wisps of smoke. Rumble. The divine light on the demon sealing pillars shone brightly. Under the influence of this incomparably huge amount of power of will, the cracks on the bronze pillars that were constantly showing cracks suddenly stopped spreading. Looking at the shape, it was actually showing signs of healing. Endless power of will poured into the sculpture. Dai Shitian could clearly feel that in an instant, this totem sculpture and this 8 trigrams demon subduing note formation were completely connected. Countless divine lights shone together. They weaved together into the strongest seal between heaven and earth. The demonic chi that rushed out of the lake was firmly sealed in the formation, unable to leak out the slightest bit. Suppress, suppress, suppress. Dai Shitian stepped on the totem sculpture with a solemn expression. He spat out the word suppress 3 times in a row. With each word, an incomparably huge amount of power of will poured into the sculpture. With a stomp of his foot, it was as if Mount Tai was pressing down on the sculpture, pressing it straight down. The sculpture pressed down on the 8 trigrams diagram and crashed down with a loud bang. One of the 8 demon sealing pillars around it also sank back into the ground. After the 3 words suppress were uttered, the earth shook and the mountains shook. The demon sealing pillars sank into the ground, and the 8 trigrams diagram appeared directly on the surface of the lake. Endless demonic chi was forcibly suppressed into the lake. Dai Shitian's totem sculpture directly stepped on the lake as if it was growing on the surface of the lake. Countless divine lights intertwined. They weaved into a huge net that covered the entire demon-subduing lake. Rumble. Countless waves surged in the lake, roaring continuously, wanting to crash into each other. However, they were inexplicably bound. With Dai Shitian's boundless power of will as the core source of the 8 trigrams demon-subduing formation, providing endless power. For a moment, the power of the seal was actually unleashed to the extreme. However, no one noticed that in the crack of the demon sealing pillar, a strange black light suddenly passed through the seal silently and floated toward Dai Shitian. It strangely rushed into his body from the bottom of his feet. Why do I feel a cold sensation? Suddenly, Dai Shitian felt a trace of coldness rise in his body. This coldness did not come from his body, but from his mind. However, this strange coldness only flashed and then disappeared, as if it was just a momentary illusion. It was sealed so easily. Qin Wuyo looked at the totem sculpture standing on the lake with some surprise. He watched as a huge amount of power of will flowed in the sculpture and poured into various parts of the formation to seal the demon god. He was a little surprised. He did not expect that the demon god would be sealed so easily. This result seemed to have come a little too smoothly. Instead, it made him feel a little suspicious. Looking around, the many elders of the Qin family sat cross-legged and began to recover their powers. Shitian, Katomi stood in front of Di Shitian with her zither in her arms. Her face was full of surprise and joy. She opened her mouth and spat out 2 words. She seemed to have thousands of words in her heart, but at this moment, she could not say anything. Only the most ordinary greeting was left on the tip of her tongue. "You, how have you been all these years?" Her clear eyes fell on his face. "Good." After a moment of silence, Di Shitian suddenly felt that he did not know how to answer. "Can you accompany me to the purple bamboo forest for a walk?" Katomi looked at him expectantly. There was a trace of nervousness in her expression. All this time, she did not know that the words she said when she used the 1,000 days drunk to knock out Di Shitian had already fallen into his ears. "As you wish, I dare not ask you." Di Shitian nodded slightly and agreed. Running away had never been his character. Since he had to face it in the end, he would not avoid it, just like when he faced Chen Shi. Even if he did something wrong, he would do what he had to do. As a man, he should be like this. He took the lead and walked towards the purple bamboo forest. Qin Wuyo saw this from behind and could only shake her head slightly. She was silent and looked up at the sky. There seemed to be a trace of nostalgia in her eyes. A trace of memories. In the purple bamboo forest, the two stayed for about 4 to 6 hours before they came out. After leaving, Di Shitian went straight back to the imperial capital of China. In the imperial capital, he ordered Hua Wenwu to start a war with the surrounding countries. Expand the territory. His mind was also pulled away from the totem statue, and he returned to his body through the mysterious connection in the dark. This time, when he suppressed the demon god, his statue that stood on the lake had condensed almost half of his wish power in the past 10 years. It was incomparably huge, and there was also a continuous flow of other wish power that was continuously poured in. He wanted to be continuous for a long time. The price he had to pay was not small. Swoosh. His demon consciousness returned to his body, but it did not enter the 3rd-grade Black Lotus in the demon mansion. Instead, it directly entered the 19 layers of the underworld prison in the divine eye of heavenly punishment. It condensed in the underworld prison and roared, "Dark, hurry up and come out. The demon god has entered my divine consciousness and followed me into my body. He wants to possess me." Possess. Lunatic Di, who dares to possess you? Dark, who was in the underworld prison using all kinds of punishments on the ancient giant's avatar, immediately let out a strange roar when he heard Di Shitian's shout, like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. 2 large dragon eyes swept forward and instantly fell on the trace of black gas that was repelled from Di Shitian's body. "This is demon chi. This is the demon chi of the demon realm. Where did you come from?" Dark let out a furious roar. He stared at the trace of demon chi. "TSK, TSK. What a clever little demon. You actually discovered this demon god's existence and guessed that this demon god wanted to possess you. You should have sensed it when you were in the demon-subduing lake. You can endure until now to make trouble. This willpower is impressive, but it's too late now. Since this demon god has entered your body, you should obediently give your body to me." Caw, caw, caw. The trace of demon chi suddenly burst out with countless black lights. With a rumble, an incomparably terrifying demon god's pressure surged in all directions. The entire underworld prison shook violently under this terrifying pressure. It was as if it would collapse at any time. Waves of demon chi rapidly expanded and condensed into a terrifying demon god's body. Its body was a few hundred feet tall, and its body was like a giant. It had 4 pairs of demon arms and 8 demon hands. Behind it, there was a terrifying pitch-black scorpion tail that was connected by sections. On its forehead, there was a blood-colored mark that looked like a sickle. Its eyes were incomparably deep and contained an endless demonic nature. It was a kind of naked evil. It had a bloodthirsty glow. Even the hair on its head was blood-colored. Every strand of hair was like a soul, and there was a soul with a painful and twisted expression. The blood strands were slender and hung down to its waist. As they danced, they looked like a blood-colored waterfall. In the waterfall, there were countless vengeful souls with ferocious expressions. They seemed to be moaning in pain. Looking at the blood, there were countless of them. It was terrifying. A pair of huge demon eyes stared at Di Shetien and Dark. It seemed to have smelled something delicious and could not help but lick its lips. It wanted to swallow them in one gulp. When we were in the Guqin Valley, I found it strange. No matter how powerful the power of will was, how could a demon god that could not be completely destroyed by time be sealed so easily? It was too smooth, so smooth that it was a little unnatural. At that time, I felt an inexplicable chill in my heart. At first, I thought it was just an illusion, but after thinking about it carefully, I felt that something was wrong. Sakra's eyes revealed a trace of indifference. My state of mind has always been as pure as one. Ever since I cultivated the book of Huangji shocking the world, it's hard for external evil to invade me. Under normal circumstances, it's impossible for me to have such feelings. Only you, a demon god, have the terrifying ability to invade my heart. You want to use me to bring you out of the seal and then take over my body. That way, you can escape without a hitch. Gaga. That's right, but so what if you know? You can't escape the fate of being devoured by me. The demon god did not care and let out two strange cries. The demon chi emitted from his body became stronger. No, you are the great demon god of the demon world. The blood-colored sickle mark, the scorpion tail god slaying thorn, and the blood god silk. You are the great demon god of the ancient times who killed countless people, the blood demon god. Ever since Ming saw the figure of the demon god, he had been thinking hard. He seemed to be trying to recall who the person in front of him was. Suddenly, he could not help but cry out in shock. His eyes were filled with disbelief. Aren't you suppressed by the 8 trigrams heavenly melody demon subduing formation? After so many years, even the demon subduing formation could not destroy your demon soul. Gaga. I did not expect a little worm like you to remember the great demon god's unparalleled demonic power. Back then, your master, the Emperor of the Dead, was defeated by me. Today, you think you can stop me? The blood demon god laughed strangely. His demon eyes flashed with a bloodthirsty light. He did not attack immediately. It was as if he was gathering demon chi to recover his fighting strength. Lunatic Di, quick, quick, quick. Let's combine our hands to suppress him. He is only a demon soul now. He is extremely weak and only has the ability of the immortal realm. Suppress him. We can't let him recover. Otherwise, you and I will be devoured by him. Ming roared loudly. Blood light flickered in his dragon eyes. With a crazed expression, he waved his dragon claws at the blood demon god. Underworld sky cage. Countless blood-red lights flashed, and a blood-red cage appeared around the demonic god, trapping him in it. Countless blood-red chains danced in the air, trying to bind the demonic god. Swoosh, swoosh. They tied the demonic god up tightly. He looked like a blood-red dumpling. Even your master, the Emperor of the Dead, does not have the ability to trap me. Roar. The blood demon god let out a demonic roar. Terrifying demon chi burst out from his body and landed on the cage and chains. The demon chi corroded the cage at a speed visible to the naked eye. The blood-red cage was covered by pitch-black demon inscriptions in the blink of an eye. It turned into a demon prison. With a crack, the chains wrapped around the demon god's body broke. Roar. Demon chi surged. A demon claw slapped the cage. With a boom, the sturdy cage was smashed into pieces. The demon god opened his mouth and sucked. A gust of demon chi rolled up from the ground. In the 19 nether prisons, the souls in the first level flew into the air. They were involuntarily sucked into the demon god's mouth by a terrifying force. He swallowed thousands of soul essences of savage beasts in one gulp. Roar. After swallowing the soul essences, the demon god's demon chi became even more terrifying. Endless demon chi rolled out, and the bloodthirsty light made people shudder. Ah! So what if you are a demon god? How dare you be so arrogant in my nether prison? I don't care if you are a demon god or not. In my territory, I can suppress you whenever I want. When Di Shitian saw the blood demon god open his mouth and swallow the souls in the nether prison, he was furious. His heart was cold as he roared, "Divine light of heavenly punishment." Amidst the angry roar, a beam of divine light appeared in the sky above the infernal purgatory. With a supreme power, it fell instantly and covered the body of the demon god. The mighty power emanating from the divine light suppressed the demon god's arrogance. It suppressed the demon god's strength from the immortal realm to the tribulation realm. This was the suppression from the divine eye of heavenly punishment and the nether prison on the demon god. Lunatic Di, well done. You must suppress him. Most of my power is used to suppress the clone on the Heaven's Punishment platform. I can't spare much power now. Shaoxantai's scorpion tail and demonic hair can turn an immortal into a pool of blood if he is pierced by the scorpion tail. His essence will be devoured by the demon god. He will also become one of the blood threads on his body. Nether kept roaring. Obviously, he was very clear about the great demon god's means and kept reminding him. Tiger soul. He roared and summoned the tiger soul. Clang. The tiger soul, which Di Shitian had been carrying on his back, let out a long cry and flew out of the scabbard. It flew in the air as if it had a mind of its own and appeared in front of his forehead. It pierced the purple mark between his eyebrows at lightning speed. The entire tiger soul directly pierced between his eyebrows and disappeared. Xiao Chen looked at the black pearl that connected tiger soul's hilt and saber body. It gave off a strange, black light. Big sister, look. Why did Di Shitian suddenly unsheath his scabbard and pierce between his eyebrows? Is he trying to commit suicide? The sudden sound of the scabbard being unsheathed immediately woke up the 3 dragon ladies who were still in the quiet room. The second princess, Ao Hong, shouted in surprise. This was a change that no one had expected. No, something seems to have happened to him. Ao Hong shook her head. A look of surprise flashed in her eyes. She carefully observed the purple mark between his eyebrows, and a layer of mysterious light appeared in her eyes. It flickered continuously and disappeared after a while. She shouted with interest, "This purple mark is strange. The talented demons all have their own special abilities. There seems to be an independent space inside the purple mark. Something happened inside. Haha, I like it. Big sister, take out your empty nether mirror and bring us in. We can see what Di Shitian is up to." Ao Hong's eyes lit up. She sensed that something interesting was going to happen. She kept shouting. "I went out to drink with my friends today and came back a little late. My mind is a little muddled. I only have 1 chapter, please forgive me." Chapter 4:11. Interesting, interesting. I thought that there was no more fun. I didn't know that there was such an interesting thing. There's actually an independent space in my innate skill. If I hadn't won a bottle of moonlight essence of delusion from my uncle, the Dragon King of the East Sea, I wouldn't have been able to see through it by touching it on my eyes and connecting it 49 times to cultivate this pair of divine eyes of delusion. However, I felt a kind of pressure from the purple mark that seemed to come from the soul, and I couldn't see through it. I only knew that it was an eye, a purple divine eye. Ao Qing, who had always been a gambler, would bet on all sorts of strange things. Although she did not care about the size of the bet or what it was, she was willing to bet even if it was a brick. What she enjoyed was the process of gambling. To her, it was a kind of enjoyment, a kind of fun. However, she couldn't really collect some ordinary bricks and stones. Therefore, she went to the East Sea to win a bottle of the East Sea Dragon Palace's treasure for countless years, the Moonlight Essence of Delusion. Legend had it that the Moonlight Essence of Delusion was created by Immortal Lord of Delusion in ancient times with a unique method. He collected moonlight from the moon in the moon, the spring of delusion from the underworld, the heavenly river from the 9 heavens, the star dew from the stars, the underworld water from the netherworld, and so on. It took him 1,000 years to make 3 bottles of the moonlight essence of delusion. If he put it on his eyes for 49 days, he would have the divine eye of delusion. The godly eye of delusion was not simple. It was as powerful as Sun Wukong's fiery crystal eyes. It could see through demons, ghosts, and cultivators 3 levels higher than oneself. It could also identify the quality of all kinds of treasures. Whether a magic treasure was good or bad, or its grade, nothing could hide from the godly eye of delusion. It could also see through illusions and point to the truth. All illusions could be seen through by this pair of eyes. It was very magical. The 3 bottles of moonlight essence of delusion were very precious. The godly lord of delusion had used one of them himself, and the other 2 bottles had gone missing. He didn't expect Ao Qing to get one of them. She had won a lot of treasures with this pair of divine eyes and gambling skills. They were all in the Chenkuan bag at her waist. Hurry up, big sister. Let's go in and take a look. There must be something fun going on. We must not miss this opportunity. It would be great if we could fight. Ao Hong's eyes were filled with excitement. Yang Ran was indeed a dragon girl who liked to fight. All right. A hint of interest flashed across Ao Qing's face. She swiped her Chenkuan bag, and a simple and unadorned ancient mirror appeared in her hand. There were strange patterns on the ancient mirror that were distributed all around, outlining traces of an ancient aura. Void, void, illusory, traversing the heavens. Your Majesty. With a shout, she quickly formed a seal and placed it on the ancient mirror. A mysterious yellow light flashed on the ancient mirror and shot out. The light shone on Ao Qing and the other 2 women, and the 3 women strangely disappeared. At the same time, a ray of light fell on the purple mark on Di Shitian's forehead. Wow! Where is this place? It's so creepy. It's really fun. There's really a space. Look, that's Di Shitian. There's a dragon. Why is there a blood dragon? I feel so oppressed from it. Big sister, what is that? It's demonic energy. It's a demon lord. Di Shitian, do you need our help? With the power of the void mirror, the 3 dragon girls really crossed the boundary of time and space, entered Di Shitian's eye of heaven punishment, and entered the infernal prison. As soon as they entered, they were shocked by the scene in front of them. They couldn't help but look at the scene in front of them in horror. It took a long time to describe, but in fact, it happened in the blink of an eye. When the 3 dragon girls entered, Di Shitian had just held Tiger Soul in his hand. He coldly looked at the blooded demon god, and the blade of Tiger Soul was slanted to his side. The dark green bead at the end of the blade flashed with faint light from time to time, emitting an evil aura. What are you doing here? Leave quickly. When Di Shitian saw that Ao Qing and the others had come here, he couldn't help but feel angry. Do you really think this is a fun place? If you're not careful, you can lose your life in this dangerous place. The ignorant are truly fearless. Roar. The demon god roared, his demonic aura overwhelming the world. His 2 demon eyes were unusually ferocious, as if he was looking at an ant. Di Shitian, right? Be obedient and let me devour you. We will become one. At that time, you will know how wonderful it is. Come. In the midst of his roar, one of the devil arms on his body swayed and stretched out a pitch-black devil claw, grabbing towards Sakura. Looking at the size of the claw, it seemed like it could completely seize him with one grab and easily crush him to death, just like crushing an ant. Under the claw, the space under the claw suddenly froze, as if it was about to solidify. Ha ha ha, Di Shitian laughed wildly. His laughter shook the entire nether prison. His black hair fluttered madly behind his head without any wind. He held Tiger Soul horizontally and pointed the blade at the demon god. His body burst with an indomitable and valiant aura like that of a supreme being. His expression was cold. Since I, Di Shitian, dared to bring you back into my body, I have never been afraid of you. No matter how powerful your true body is, you are just a wisp of demon soul here. So what if I kill you? Looking at the demon claw in front of him, his courage surged, and his heart went crazy. Fight. 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 If he wanted to fight, He would fight to his heart's content. Only then would he not let down this man's heart. He would not let the man's body bind the woman's heart. Facing the demon claw that seemed to be able to pinch heaven and earth, Shitian did not dodge at all. Instead, he advanced and stomped his foot forward. If he did not retreat, he would not retreat even if he died. If he retreated, he would be cowering, and if he retreated, he would be weak. Sabers were domineering. Only by advancing and not retreating could he truly unleash the true essence and power of the saber. He continued to practice his saber. Every time he had time, he would swing his saber and slash. He already had a deep understanding of the true essence of the saber. When he took a step forward, the infinite power contained in his body also began to roar and surge into Tiger Soul. The saber slashed straight at the demon claw. In an instant, a beautiful saber mark broke through the air and landed on the demon claw. Bang! Tiger Soul and the demon claw collided without any concealment. Even if the demon god was suppressed by the heavenly punishment divine light above and forcibly suppressed the tribulation, the demon aura on his body was so strong that even when it collided with Tiger Soul, it produced a sound like that of a sword clashing. Moreover, the demon aura on the demon claw rolled. He grabbed the Tiger Soul with force, wanting to corrode and demonize it. What saber is this? However, the demon claw immediately retracted as if it had caught a cactus or a hedgehog. At the same time, the demon aura on the demon claw mysteriously became incomparably thin, as if it had been devoured by something in an instant. On the Tiger Soul, one could see that the golden blade of the Tiger Soul was already covered with a thick layer of pitch-black demonic aura. The demonic aura churned and didn't pass through the blade into Shitian's body. Instead, it seemed to be pulled by something. Like a whale sucking in water, it surged into the green pearl on the blade where the hilt and blade were connected. In an instant, it was completely devoured without leaving a single drop behind. When he looked at the green pearl again, the originally dim green pearl had an additional luster. Wisps of green light flickered. The Tiger Soul saber gave off a boundless evil aura and a thirst. The Tiger Soul saber regained its previous golden color. The saber trembled, and that golden saber light seemed to have become even deeper. The Tiger Soul was growing stronger. The blade's name is Tiger Soul. It is your nemesis. Kill. Shitian gently wiped the blade and roared. He raised Tiger Soul and took the initiative to attack. He slashed horizontally at the demon god's head, wanting to cut off its head with one slash. When the saber was drawn, his body also moved forward. He took large strides forward. Each step he took was majestic and awe-inspiring. With every step he took, the thick and domineering aura around his body naturally became stronger. The aura around his body was so sharp that it could not be blocked. Back then, Tiger Soul had been refined with a soul-devouring stone, and in the end, it became Tiger Soul. It allowed Tiger Soul to have the ability to devour soul essences, blood essences, and thousands of demonic auras. Demon aura was the most terrifying thing to others. If they were contaminated by it, they could possibly turn into a demon. However, to Tiger Soul, it was food. It was a great supplement. The more it devoured, the stronger Tiger Soul would become. The current Tiger Soul was only an inferior grade Dharma treasure. It relied on its indestructible body and extremely sharp edge. In order to evolve and transform to become stronger, it would need to absorb a large amount of blood essences, absorb a large amount of souls, and go through countless battles. At this moment, the demon god was in front of him. It was not his actual body, but only a strand of demon soul. No matter how strong the demon soul was, with Tiger Soul in hand, there was nothing to fear. How dare an ant kill this demon god? The demon god was slightly stunned. Then, he let out an earth-shattering roar. His two demon eyes flashed with endless anger. Unknowingly, the scorpion tail behind him had disappeared. Blood demon finger. The crippled blood demon god's cold eyes had a hint of bloodlust. Looking at Tiger Soul's sharp blade, he extended a demon claw and extended a demon finger. The demon finger suddenly turned blood red as it pointed at Tiger Soul. Bang! A terrifying demonic power came from Tiger Soul. A layer of blood-red waves instantly flooded the Tiger Soul. Following Tiger Soul, it directly bombarded Di Shitian's body. The demonic power was so strong that with a finger, the space was completely annihilated and shrouded in blood-red light. Nether prison power, apply to my body, Di Shitian roared. The 19 levels of nether prison shook, and a huge force from nether prison suddenly applied to his body. Tiger Soul shook, and the blood-red light that covered the blade rippled. The green bead showed its power again, releasing a strange devouring force. Countless blood-red lights surged into the green bead. With a turn of his feet and a flick of his wrist, Tiger Soul drew a blade shadow in front of him. Waves of energy from his body poured into Tiger Soul without reservation. Ultimate Emperor Mask. A purplish gold mask that could only cover half of his face suddenly appeared on his face. His aura suddenly surged. His strength had risen by 2 levels. Ultimate Emperor Wei, Death of Gods and Demons. Endless death intent burst out from Tiger Soul, sweeping through the entire world. At this moment, a pitch-black scorpion tail had silently appeared behind Di Shitian. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.